They're two brothers and gamers that have been playing games since the early 1980s. Combined, they have over 65 years experience. Join them each week as they discuss and rant about gaming and entertainment news. This is Generation X Gaming.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week, another episode of Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. Joining me each and every single week is Sgt McClusky. When we actually have a show, we've been obsolete for like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I think it was. The last show we had was March 9th. We are April 20th, so it's been a bit. It's
been over a month? I thought it was a month.
I think it's March 9th, or maybe it was March 19th or something. It's definitely been a while. It's been a while. So,
all right, well, I got my computer finally, so we're good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we can see you. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not like your graphics card. Your graphics card is not trying
doing this
to burn right while it's going on. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, Generation X Gaming, a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. On today's show, we have we're going to talk a little bit about Diablo IV. We're going to talk about Division. Division and Diablo had two streams at the exact same time at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so we had to watch a couple of those things. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those. We're going to talk about Redfall and the 30-frame debacle that's happening with Redfall, and about next-gen consoles and whatnot. We're going to be talking about, is the industry slowing down for subscription services, Sarge? We're going to have a little conversation about that as well. We're going to talk about video games. Video games are taking longer, and there's an article here that says that games take 7 to 10 years, and Xbox has that could potentially take a decade to develop, so we'll have a little conversation about that as well. We're going to talk about a little game called Immortals of, how do you say this? Avium? Is that I say Avium? Is it Avium? Is it Avium? It's a EA game that's coming out. It's a first-person magical spell game. It looks pretty interesting. They showed some gameplay today, not actual cinematic trailer. So we'll take a look at that and discuss that a little bit. And then we're going to talk about this other game that I showed Sarge, and he doesn't think it's real, and a lot of people don't think it's real, and I do believe it's real. But it's called Unrecorded. It's a first-person.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
First-person shooter game that looks realistic, and so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. We're going to talk about Oxenfree II. I love the Oxenfree 1. Netflix bought the studio that made Oxenfree. Now Netflix owns Oxenfree. Netflix is trying to get into that, so we're going to talk about them and where they're bringing it. And everyone's getting it except one person, okay, which is Xbox, so we'll talk about that as well. We're going to talk about Jedi Survivor, but not really the game itself, but the file size. The file size is gigantic, so we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Battlefront 3, the original 3 that never came and saw the light of day. We have some more information about that, and then I'm going to kind of speculate what I think, and Sarge is going to join me on the Star Wars talk a little bit with Battlefront 3 for this new next-gen type of stuff. And we're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy with the Quidditch not in the game, but yet there's a new game coming out, standalone game of Quidditch, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And Suicide Squad. Last time we had a show, Sarge, it was rumored that Suicide Squad was going to get delayed, but nothing ever happened from it. And while we were gone last week, Suicide Squad actually came out and said we're delaying until next year, so we'll have a little conversation about that as well. So those are all the topics on today's show. If you'd like to help us out in any way, shape, or form, you can hit that like button down below. I suggest you hit that like button down below because we're going to do a 2-hour show, and I'm sure you're going to like something in the show. On top of that, if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can become a member as little as $5 each and every single month. It helps us out over here. You become a member, and you can join our Discord server and do a bunch of other stuff. YouTube Lurker just became a member for 3 months, so thank you very much for that. And on top of that, you can listen to us and watch us, all the past broadcasts over on Spotify Spotify, you can watch the video and you can also listen to the audio. All of them, every single one that we've done for 9 seasons is up on Spotify, so check that out as well. Thanks for becoming a member. All right, Sarge, it's been a while, so let's what we've been playing. I gotta find the buttons. I think this is the button. Hold on, let me see. Is this the button? Nope, that's the wrong button. Is this the right button? Nope, that's the wrong button too. Oh, here it is. Got it. There it is. There's the right button.
That's some real
Professionalism right there.
Yep. Just push the buttons until you get the right one.
Yep.
Awesome.
Push a whole bunch of buttons.
What have I been playing? Is that the question?
Yeah. So, what have you been playing? What
All right. So
it's been 6 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it is. You had to been playing something.
Well, I couldn't play anything on my computer, so I had to play console. So what have I been playing? Well, as many of you know, Civilization 6 was released for Xbox, which I found really amazing because I thought for sure it wasn't going to handle it, because you know how the Xbox Series X can't handle anything at the moment. But I've been playing Civilization 6. Yeah, Civilization 6. I've been playing Vampire Survivor. I've actually been doing every character, every map. I'm about halfway through.
For which one? Vampire? For what was the last thing you just said?
Vampire Survivor.
Survivor.
I'm doing every character, every map, and so I'm about halfway done. Besides that one, a little bit of Darkest Dungeon, until of course I got angry enough to not play it for a week. Let's see what else. There was one other one I was playing.
Hell Let Loose.
Oh well, that's automatic. I don't even need to talk about that one. Right, Hell Let Loose. I'm in a clan. How can I not play it?
I'm in the same clan as you. I joined the same clan.
You told me. You called me up. You're like, this is real. The interview process. I'm like, yeah, they had an interview process.
Yeah, it was like joining a guild back in like World of Warcraft days, right? Like you had a really nice guys. They did a little interview process. They wanted to know like what classes I want to be, because they have a group of people and someone wants to be a medic or someone wants to be engineer, so they put you in different groups with different people, so everyone has what they want to play. And then you have like leaders, and they always are the officers, and if you want to be in an officer role, you can ask to be on an officer role. But I loved it. I love the communication. That's what I really loved. Like when we played, it brought back the days of Battlefield Bad Company days and Bad Company 2 days, when you're playing with a group of people and you're just it was just awesome. It's just awesome.
That's about it. It was well rounded. I've been keeping busy. It's amazing what you'll do when you don't have the distraction, right? When you don't have the PC, right? I can't imagine what I would do if I had no video games. How productive I would be.
You would probably like shed 30 pounds, and you'd be like,
right. I'd be outside somewhere on a bike. Yeah. You realize that after a while.
Yeah, well, that's what I do on the weekends. I disconnect from electronics and stuff. I don't really mess with too much on the weekends. That's like family time. We go out places. I might glance at my phone every once in a while, but I put that shit down. I don't touch it.
I did play Minecraft Legends though.
What'd you think about Minecraft Legends?
Okay, once again, I'm not 10, so my perspective on it isn't from that side of the fence. So I think it's an interesting take on how to teach kids about an RTS.
I mean,
what I did find out, which I thought was hilarious, and I'm sure this is going to come up later. I'm sure it will. I found out that an old friend of mine was playing the same game. You remember Slow?
Yeah.
Right? He was one of our Slow Scope.
Yeah, he popped in the other day in stream.
Yeah, right. So he played Battlefield with us back in the day, and so he was playing, and he keep asking me questions. He's like, "How do you get into this world? How do you get into this?" I'm like, "I just got on." Right. And so he and his friend are playing on the potato. Okay.
The potato, the S, or the potato like the one?
No. The potato is the S.
Okay.
Chat, just in case we're all on the same page. When I mention the word potato, I'm talking about the Xbox Series S, as in slow. Okay. So he says he couldn't get to play 4-player. And I said, well, that seems strange. I'll start a world. Why don't you come into mine?
Right.
So him, his friend, and his friend's brother came into my world. I'm like, yeah, 4-player works. And he goes, yeah, but on our screen, it only shows room for 2 people in the world, not 4.
Interesting.
Guess why?
But that game's not very high intensive.
I don't care anymore, bro. The potato is the problem. Okay, the potato is the problem. Anyway, I thought it was done well for to teach little kids about RTS. Right, the controls are easy to learn. Just the attacking of when you want to tell your guys to attack something specific is a little clunky, but I got used to it. I thought the open world looked cool, except that I can't really identify things in the world right away.
You're talking about the resources and stuff?
Like the plants and things. Like I'm walking and like I got the fact that, the tall grass makes you faster and the special mushroom makes you jump further. I got that part of it. But like those spiked plants, I didn't even know I was walking through them. Like I'm stuck in them I'm dying.
I can't
see them.
Little prickly
I'm like,
ones.
is it because I'm old? I don't know. I couldn't, like, every time I'm looking around, I'm like, is that plant? Is that the plant? And I'm going around in a circle. For what it is, I thought they did a nice job. However, I don't think they did enough for the depth of the game. It seems like a more run around with your friends type of thing, not like an actual story that's going on. But I do like the cutscenes. It seems to me, and I know I'm being a little bit biased here, it seems to me that the majority of that game's money went to the cool cutscenes of the storytelling of what's going on in the game, not the actual gameplay itself. Like all their money went to the cool hog guy, the pig guy, the guys who are fighting the piglins. Like all those cutscenes look great for Minecraft.
Right.
But like the gameplay itself, it's like, yeah, you guys could have did a little bit more here.
I think it's good. And like how you said Minecraft Dungeons was like my first little dungeon crawler. This is my first little RTS, right? And you got to remember though, the people that were playing Minecraft back in the day it's been out for 12 years. So if they were like 5 when they started playing, they're 18 now, right? If they were 10, they're 22 now, right? So I think a lot of this is just more of if you're like my son, absolutely loving this game, absolutely loving it. He's 8, right? And he is just loving it. And what he learned from Minecraft Dungeons as a dungeon crawler, like he understands dungeon crawlers now, right? He understands the RPGs. Now with this, he understands RTSs. Now, it's not the traditional RTS, but I think it does a really good job for what it's trying to do. There's a little bit of depth, but not too much depth. So if you're a person that's an RTS guy, you're going to be bored with this really fast, right? Because there's not that much depth there for you. But for someone like my son, right? He's loving it. He's like, oh, there's a lot to do here. There's lots of stuff. It's challenging for him. There's a couple of game modes in there that I would actually like to try. Did you try the horde mode? There's 20 waves that come at you. I went up to like level 5 the other day, and then all of a sudden I got bombarded and the whole thing ended. I was like, oh, okay. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, I have to build walls by level 5 to stop the explosions from happening. So there's a little bit of challenge there. And if you go through all level 20 levels, you get like a cosmetic gold armor piece or whatever. So I don't know. I enjoyed the one day we played it on stream. I thought it was pretty good. I played it for 4 hours. Lots of little. I still haven't built everything yet or explored everything yet in the game, but I thought it was pretty good for Minecraft Dungeons. Anything else you've been playing, Sarge?
No, I gave you the list. Civ 6 takes a lot, man.
I was thinking about jumping into Civ 6.
Bro, Game Pass. Do you need another? Do you need a Civ 6 Game Pass on Xbox? That's like a free. That's a free game.
Yeah.
It's a free game.
I know. So games I've been playing MLB The Show 23. Absolutely loving it. We're doing a series on the main channel, which is this channel. We've been playing through Jack Burton through the entire. We just finished the season this morning, so we're going into the playoffs. We made the playoffs. My character won the Triple Crown. He got the most home runs. He got the most best batting average. He got the most RBIs. So he won the Triple Crown. I got MVP, Rookie of the Year. And so starting Monday, we're playing the playoffs. So we'll be playing the playoffs and see if we make it through the playoffs to get to the World Series, because that's what you're supposed to do, road to the show. So I've been playing a lot of that, enjoying that a lot. Other things I've been playing. I've been playing Hell Let Loose, which just kind of glanced on. Joined the clan, had a blast. I haven't played with them in about a week because I've been busy doing a bunch of stuff. We jumped back into Jedi Fallen Order to get ready for Jedi Survivor, which comes out on Tuesday. So next week's show, we're going to be talking about Jedi Survivor a little bit. So Jedi Fallen Order, I love that game, man. It's such a good game. You've never played it, have you, Sarge? You've never played Jedi Fallen Order?
Jedi Fallen Order.
That's the
No.
Respawn.
However,
Yeah. On Game Pass.
however, when I did buy my computer, I got a free code to get the game for free. It was part of the computer deal.
Well, you got it for free anyway. It's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I know, but it's not on a computer.
It is.
No, what I'm saying is, why would I want to play it on the Xbox when I can play it on my computer?
Well, no, I think it's actually free to play on Game Pass for the PC, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, then that's probably why they gave me the free code, so it's free no matter what. Now I feel jilted.
I thought it comes out on. Is it Friday? Next Friday, Stealth? I thought it was Tuesday.
That's right, Water. It's Jedi Survivor. Yeah, not the new one.
Oh, it's the 26th, right? You can preload it the 26th. Yeah, I don't know what day it is anymore. We're on the 20th. So 26th is Wednesday. No, it's the 26th. Oh, preload the 26th.
I don't think it's
preload the 26th. It's 28th. You're correct, Stealth. You're correct. Preload the 26th. Play on the 28th. So we're over a week away. So just one more week for that. So
I don't think so.
So you should play that, Sarge, because I know you're not going to get the new game right away. You should play Jedi Fallen Order. It's a fantastic
I don't know.
game.
I have this itch that I've been wanting to play a lot of these RTS games that I haven't been able to play in a while. And so I think I might get sucked into that first. I'm not sure if I can sit around and play Jedi Survivor on the PC.
When
I have all these I have all these RTS games that I want to play.
Oh, you're gonna play Dune. I know you're gonna play Spice Wars.
Right. I got
he got
Spice
a computer.
Wars out.
He's gonna jump into the
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else I've been playing. I played Minecraft Dungeons, not Dungeons Legends. We played baseball. Oh, last night I played because we were supposed to play Star Wars Battlefront 2, but Sarge couldn't join me, and I jumped back into Battlefield 2042, Sarge, and they added this new game mode. Called Breakout, which is just like Hell Let Loose. Are you done covering your ears? I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
I don't want to talk about it, bro.
Okay.
I don't care about 2042.
They added this new game mode called Breakout, which is just like the game mode inside Hell Let Loose, where you go up just to the 2 points, and then once you beat those 2 points, then you go on to the next two, right? So there's a defense / offense.
So they had to steal another game mode from a different game because their game sucks so badly that they put a different game mode in there.
So yesterday, some games that we were playing, we were like on the last point, and it was so chaotic, chaotic in a good way. Just constant bombardment of grenades and people shooting and tanks coming in, and it felt so good because you knew where the battle was, right? You knew where the battle was and where the people were coming from. Yeah. And it was the most fun I had in a Battlefield since like Battlefield 1.
2.
Well, Battlefield 1, right?
Yeah.
So they added this new game mode. Seems pretty good. The gameplay does feel better, but here we are. Regardless if it's good or not, it's been 18 months since the game came out.
Yeah, but wait, 30. If this new game mode was such a big deal, how come it wasn't announced on their roadmap? They never even talked about it, right? This brand new game mode that's so awesome, they never talked about it. They didn't even think they were going to release it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they stole it from another game and put it into their game.
Yeah,
because it wasn't on the roadmap. What a surprise!
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of fun. I really like the game mode. So we'll probably jump back in that a little bit more because it is I should say it's a fun game now. It's not a depressing, glitchy mess. It's actually a fun game. So 18 months after it launched, it's actually at 0 now. And now they can work it up because I think they fixed all the maps now. But it's a lot of fun.
I was playing Battlefield 5, if you believe it or not. I was playing Battlefield 5 for a while. I neglected to mention that over the last month, but I've been playing that as well. After Hell Let Loose, right, I would play that one, and it's such a difference in gameplay that when I start playing one or the other after playing that one or the other,
right,
it takes me a good hour to readjust.
Yeah.
because the gameplay for 5 is really fast.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
time to, right, and the time to kill is higher, and you have to get that. And I can't find the correct speed of the controller in the options because I'm overshooting. The cursor is I'm overshooting.
Right. Well, I had issues because I was playing Hell Let Loose, and then I went to go play Battlefield 2042, and I was just like, okay, this is it's like you're amped up and you're like, let's go.
Like, if anybody in chat has Battlefield 5, I think we should have a group of people come in and play that.
I would play that.
Right? We should play a team base. We should play a whole as many people as get into the room as possible.
Yeah, I would play Battlefield. I'll play any game with a group of people if we have a group of people to play, right? So, all right. I think that's all the things that we've been playing in the last couple of weeks. We kind of glanced over them as fast as possible. So let's get to the top stories. All right, Sarge. So the first one up is that Xbox is working on a mysterious franchise sequel that may take a decade to develop. Now, the conversation's not what game it is or anything like that, okay? The conversation I want to have with this article is that a AAA video game are taking longer and longer to make, it says in the article. It says, these days, Microsoft apparently working on a video game sequel that can take upwards to 10 years to develop, okay? Inside this lawsuit that they're doing, that people brought up with the proposal deal because of Activision Blizzard, it was first spotted inside this document reference, and it says, line 78, it says, Halo Infinite is a recent title from Microsoft, first-party Halo franchise, was in production blank, redacted, at cost almost blank millions, and developed to bring market other than AAA games, can take even longer to develop. For instance, according to Microsoft's executive, blank blank, a forthcoming title from the blank franchise can take a decade to develop. So my question to you, Sarge, is do you think that games are going to actually take they're actually going to take that time, 7 to 10 years, to actually develop the game? Or do you think they're going to take 10 years to make the game, but they launch it at year 2 or 3? Because that's what's happening now anyway, right? For instance, look at Battlefield. They took 2 years to create what they did, and then now they took another 18 months to fix the game, right?
Yeah, but don't you see that's a pattern, right? The game comes out early, it's not ready, and then they promise to fix it, and during the next 18 months to 2 years, that's still development time, and you've paid for the game.
Right.
Right? That's a normal thing now. I don't agree with it at all. Which is why I've come to the very edge. I had the last outburst I had was, I don't know if it was before my computer blew up, or was at that time we were talking online we were playing on console. But like I've got to the point now where I don't care. Like, I don't care what the news says is coming out. I don't care the hype train of whatever new game's coming out. Like, I don't care. I would rather pay attention to nothing. The game come out, there's actual reviews for it, and then I see if it's good right then and there. Right. Like, I don't want to listen to them anymore because it's been the same. It's the same rotation the last 5 years, and I'm just done with it. I'm done listening to them.
Paul Gaming says it could be Minecraft 2. Reese says if Infinite took 7 years, that says a ton about 343. Yeah, I'm just a little, like, I don't know, lost of 10 years, right? To take 10 years, to put 10 years of development into a game, that game better come out and that thing better be flawless. Like, no bugs, no glitches, no cyberpunk-ish type of games, no Man's Sky when it came out type of game. Like, perfect. 10 years in development. Like, when that game comes out, Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's been in development for 15 years. That game better come out and that game better be flawless. Okay, because you've been in development for so damn long. Skull and Bones has been in development for like 7-8 years. That game better be perfect when it comes out, right? So I don't know about this 10-year development thing, if games are actually going to take 10 years to develop, because right now when games are in development for like 2 to 3 years, they're popping them out and then they support them for like 4 to 5 years. So I thought that was just a little weird that Xbox working on a mysterious franchise. I want to ask you guys in chat. I mean, I know Paul said Minecraft 2, but What do you think that is? What do you think the mysterious franchise sequel is, Sarge? What sequel do you think that Microsoft is working on?
Mysterious sequel?
Mysterious
sequel,
yeah. May take a decade to develop a mysterious sequel.
This is one of those times where I'm going to institute what I had just said before. Like, I really don't care. Like, you're telling me this game's going to take 10 years to make now. So does that really mean it's going to take 3 years to make and then you fix it for 7? Like one of those type of games? Like, I don't know. Let's see what could they screw up that they haven't screwed up already.
Travis says Banjo-Kazooie.
10 years to make and is owned by Microsoft. Let's see.
Stealth says Halo.
Let's see.
General says Fallout 5. Water says Spaceball 2, the video game.
I mean, I got to be honest. I honestly, I really could care less. You could call it the greatest mystery game of all time, and I'd just be like this.
But what do you think the sequel is?
It could be anything. It could be any sequel.
Something that Microsoft is working on, right? So you got to.
Well, Microsoft doesn't work on much. Yeah, Microsoft doesn't work on much, right? And the ones that they do work on that they should care about, they flush down the toilet. So I'm not sure how impressed I could be about a 10-year game. Is anybody else excited when someone tells me it's a 10-year game coming out?
Not a 10-year game. It took 10 years to make. Not the games that take 10 years.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a moment. Did they start 10 years ago? Did they start 10 years ago and haven't said anything about it?
But no, that's not what it's saying, Sarge. It's saying that the game will take a decade to develop, is what they're saying.
Well, obviously, we're going to have to wait for systems to get better and for the cloud-based gaming to excel, because we're never going to see that game. It takes 10 years.
That's a good guess, Melrose. Excite Bike 2, which I think already happened. I think it's called Excite Bike Ultra or something like that. I think it's actually on the Switch, I believe. I'm gonna take a guess here. A sequel to a game. I guess it doesn't have to be Microsoft what they own. It could just be a sequel to a game. What could it be? I don't know. I can't think of an actual first-person game or like a first-party title game. I would say Fable, but Fable's supposed to be coming out soon.
This is how your brain is. We're all damaged now. You can't even think of one.
I don't know. What it could be. It could be like Outer Worlds 2. It could take 10 years. I don't know. I don't know, chat. General says, I thought Bethesda was included since Microsoft owns Bethesda. Yeah. No, it would be everybody inside their. There's rumors. Force Gaming was talking about it, and we're actually going to have another story about it. About they could be working on and Jesse brought this up. They could be actually working on a Star Wars game. They're working on a Indiana Jones game, so they could also be working on another LucasArts game, which could be a Star Wars game. And with the article that was a couple of months ago, it's talking about how LucasArts wants one major Star Wars game and a smaller Star Wars game every single year for the next 6 years. Bethesda could be working on a Star Wars game in behind the scenes, and that could be a sequel to something that's been out before. Maybe. Who knows? So, all right, let's move to the next story here. I want to kind of bring up Star Wars since we're talking about Star Wars. So, the next topic I want to talk about is Star Wars Battlefront 3, Sarge. Star Wars Battlefront 3 was almost finished, says former dev. Now, we're talking about the original Star Wars Battlefront 3. We're not talking about Star Wars Battlefront 3 from EA. Okay, so a former Star Wars Battlefield 3 developer shares an interesting fact about the game, surprising some franchise fans. According to a former developer, Star Wars Battlefront 3 was closer to being complete than many fans expected. Now, we had conversations on this show 8 years ago, okay? And we had stories come out that we saw footage of the old what's it called? What was the company's name again? It was what was the company's name? Oh, for God's sakes, I forget the name. Free Radical. Free Radical is what it was, right? Free Radical, we showed some footage of Free Radical's Battlefront 3, and we were amazed by it because it was from ground to space, but way before No Man's Sky, and they were having full-on battles with Battlefront 3, where you could have a battle on the ground, fly up and have an air battle, and then fly into the atmosphere, have a space battle, and then land on a ship and then have a ship battle, okay? Those of you that remember Battlefront 2 back in the day, Battlefront 2, you could battle on the ground, battle in space, but it wasn't seamless. It was ground battles and space battles, and then you could have battles inside the starships as well, which was really cool. So what the developer was saying is that this game was done on the 2-yard line. It was there. It was ready.
Red zone.
Right. It was ready to come out, and he said it was phenomenal. All right. He says Star Wars series started in 2004, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC series feature the third-person gameplay, allowing players to choose for preferred gameplay. Okay. According to Michael Barclay, a lead designer at Naughty Dog right now, a former Star Wars Battlefront 3 developer, the game was almost complete before getting canceled. Barclay stated that Star Wars Battlefront 3 was extremely close to being finished, and it was going to be incredible, he says. The tweet came in a response to another user asking game developers if there was a game that got away, and thanks to this tweet, players can now learn how close they were to experiencing a Star Wars Battlefront installment. Even though the modern Star Wars Battlefront 2 got mixed reviews at launch, many fans in the franchise will hope to see the sequel, the original Battlefront 2, and beloved however. So, here's why I want to take this now, Sarge. Okay? We know now, years and years later, I think 2007 was when Battlefront 2 came out, right? 2005, right? We know Battlefront 2 was an awesome game, and then Battlefront 3 was supposed to come out, and Free Radical, they just never got to make it. And then EA got the brand in 2012. They made it Battlefront 1 in 2015. Then there was a story that came out after the first one. They were so excited. DICE was flying high. They said that we're going to make a Battlefield Battlefront every other year. They said we're going to make Battlefront.
Does that sound really ambitious?
Then
though,
they
even
said
then?
Battlefield, and they did Battlefront 1. Then they did Battlefield 1. Then they did Battlefront 2 in 2017. Then they did Battlefield 5. Okay? But then The Last Jedi came out. And Last Jedi completely discombobulated everything. Okay? Star Wars fans rebelled. People were pissed off. They were like negating everything that Star Wars did. And Star Wars, even though they got crap, EA, Battlefront 2 got crap for having microtransactions or loot boxes before the game came out. They made those changes because of the people bitching about it. They took it out, and that game came out, and it was actually really good. It sold well over 10 million copies, okay, which is a very successful game. I mean, Hogwarts Legacy is going to get like a trilogy now because they sold that many copies, okay, in the first 2 weeks. So EA had a hit on their hands with Battlefront 2. They continue to support this game, and I said after Battlefront 2 and after they came out with this before, I said that I do believe that there's another Battlefront 3 out there, okay? I said, I don't know if Respawn's working on it. I don't know if it's DICE working on it, because now DICE is part of Vince Zampella moved over to DICE, and he split that company up into two, so they're making multiple games now. I personally, and this is just my opinion, I believe there's a Star Wars Battlefront 3 right now that's, again, almost complete or done. But it's not going to see the light of day because of the pushback they got from what happened to Star Wars brand in general. Okay? You don't think this is a thing. You don't think that it's 80% complete or 90% complete, the next Battlefront 3?
In today's market, the way things have been going and the way that they treat studios, there's no way that they're working on Battlefront 3 after the debacle of all the things that have been going on now with first-person shooter games and the Battlefield series and Battlefront series. Now, I'll give it to you that they may have taken the Battlefront 3 from years past that's already done and try to upgrade it and try to sell that into it. Yeah.
No, because they would have to re-import into the new engine.
What are games doing right now?
No,
we're not going to release the game. We're going to change it into Unreal 5.
They can literally take Battlefront 1 and 2 and just take the same stuff that was in Battlefront 1 and 2 and make Battlefront 3.
Yeah, I don't think they're wasting money or time on a game that they can't sell the way that they want to sell. If they can take an existing game and modify it and try to push that out and sell that, that's what they would do business-wise. But I do not think for a moment that right now there's Battlefront 3, another version that's been worked on for the last nickel that they haven't said anything about, no one's leaked about, and no one's talked about, right? And then you think that that's just waiting on the back burner for Star Wars to get better so they can throw it on out. No.
When they worked on Battlefront 1, they already were working on Battlefront 2. And when Battlefront 2 came out, I guarantee you they were already working on Battlefront 3 when this whole debacle started, and they were like, okay, put the brakes on. We're not working on this anymore. Just put it on the back burner. I think right now, in my head, Battlefront 3 is sitting there like 70, 80% complete, and is just sitting there. And
you're such an optimist.
Oh yeah. Meet Mr. Cynical.
Yeah.
I'm such an optimist.
I'm cynical.
No, I'm
you're
cynical.
the optimist.
No. I'm cynical. You're fucking ridiculously cynical. There's a difference.
I'm a realist, if we're going to talk like that one. I'm a realist. I've been following all this stuff for 30 years. Okay, so everything I've said, I have watched other streamers say 3 years after I say it.
Of course.
Right? Everyone joins the boat after everyone wants to talk about it. Right? Right? Madden sucks forever. And then 3 years after the fact that Madden's like, hey, by the way, Madden's not such a good game. No shit.
Yeah.
No shit, it's not.
Well, I won on this show when they first announced the S and X. I said, no matter what they come out with, that lower box is always going to hold us back. I said it from the very beginning. Right?
It's a potato.
So Battlefront 3, I think that there's something coming out for Star Wars. They have something big, and I think in 2025, I think that's when they relaunch Battlefront 3, or if they make it a Battlefront 1 again. I don't know, but there's another Battlefront game that they're working on that they're going to release.
They have to market correctly. So let's just talk. What's the timeline? Is there an anniversary coming up that they can use that as a promotional point? When did Battlefront first come out? Like the first Battlefront?
The original came out in 2000.
Not Battlefield, Battlefront.
Battlefront, yeah, the original. You're talking about in the early 2000s?
The original.
I think it was 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think it was 2004. Hold on, I'll look it up.
Okay, so if you're correct and it is 2004, then you may be correct because next year would be a 20th anniversary, right?
Hold on. Release. Actually, might be even earlier than that. I think it.
Travis says 2002. I don't remember. There's too many.
It was. Well, this one says 2004. September 21st, 2004 for Xbox, playable on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 2.
So there you go. So you have next year would be the 20th anniversary. It'd be a great time to use that as a marketing promotion. 20-year anniversary of Battlefront. We got the new Battlefront coming out. That's something I could get behind because they need something to use to promote it. And since Star Wars is in the shitter, you got to attach it to something.
Well,
you have to attach it to something.
Battlefront 2 came out October 28th of 2005. That's 1 year later, right? Mm-hmm. 1 year later, the next game.
1 year.
Right, 1 year back then.
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
So this one came out in 2015, and then 2 years later, 2017 is when Battlefront 1 and 2 came out. We were supposed to have it in 2019. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, right? And I know I'm far-fetched, and I'm thinking they were already working on the next Battlefront 3 when Battlefront 2 came out.
Shit at the fan.
Correct. So we're talking like in 2018, they started working on Battlefront 3 to come out. They got put on hold sometime in 2020, 2021. Vince Zampella came in, took over. They started making a different division type of thing they have different Battlefield games working on. I think there's a Battlefront game in the works. Not only do I think the Battlefield game is in the works with DICE, with Zampella, who worked for Respawn, okay, but because Respawn is hitting a home run with the Jedi Fallen Order, and now Jedi Survivor is going to be a hit, I think that because Lucasfilm and they're trying to come out with as many Star Wars games as possible. In the article that we have with the 6 Star Wars games, or 6 years, that means there are 6 major Star Wars games coming out and 6 lower Star Wars games coming out. And I think Battlefront 3 is going to be inserted somewhere in between there, between now and 2025, right? So obviously, if we see something this year, it doesn't come out until next year, but I think sometime next year, and then it'll come out in 2025 is what I think.
I'll give it to you, but I think an anniversary time would be appropriate. So if it was 2015, you're looking at 2025.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Chat, I want to hear what you guys think. There is questions up above. If you want any topic that we're talking about here, you can submit your question. Make it a question, please, not a statement or anything like that. An actual question, and you can bring it in. New Star Wars game every 6 months melts me. Yeah. Because it's every 6 months. It's going to be a big title, small title every 6 months. And then so each year you have one big one, one small one, rinse and repeat for next 6 years. Okay, so we'll see. Was it 6 years or 4 years? Maybe it was 4 years. I'll have to remember the article. So that's what I think about the Star Wars stuff. All right. The next topic I want to talk about, Sarge, is consumer spending. Okay, consumer spending growth on subscription like PlayStation Plus is slowing, and also we're going to throw Game Pass in there. It says a chunk of this discourse of generations revolves around subscription, and Sony is reluctant to offer first-party releases day one with PlayStation Plus, which I agree with. I'm actually for them not releasing day and date. Okay, I'm on record saying that. Okay, because I think it's a bad business model day and date. I think it's a good business model what PlayStation's doing. Many felt that the PlayStation 5 would begin to fall behind the rivals due to perceived lack of value compared to competing with services like Xbox Game Pass. But in reality, the whole segment is starting to flatten out, at least in the US. According to subscriptions spent growth in slowing, obviously it doesn't mean that the growth is completely stopped, but it does suggest that unless something dramatically changes, it's beginning to level off. And Sony has from the start, insisted that the PlayStation Plus's supplementary revenue stream is traditional business model, which is selling games full price at both retail through the digital storefront. Now, the PlayStation Plus has, over the past few years, topped out at 50 million subscribers. Right now, that we know about Game Pass is around 25 to like maybe 30. Okay. So what do you think, Sarge? Do you think that the subscription model is slowing down? And if it is slowing down, what, if anything, does Sony care about trying to raise that up, right? Because they have 50 million, okay? Game Pass, their whole business model, Sony's business model is make a good game, sell a good game at a high-end clientele type of thing. Game Pass, if this is staled and out like this, what do you think of it?
Well, this is a multi-faceted conversation. So, because of Microsoft's limited number of Xboxes in circulation, plus the fact that their sales have dropped off, and now they are selling as much as they were when they were selling Xbox Ones from back in the day, okay, which isn't good, right? Because that means you're not getting enough people to be part of Game Pass because that's what they want. That's part of it, right? Number two, Sony has a much larger pool of consoles out there that if they're able to transpose those people over to a subscription model and give great party first title games, then as a standalone, what you want to call console war, PlayStation's going to win, because Microsoft, as we discussed in the past, isn't worried about consoles. They care about gaming in general. Right? They just want to fill the room with games. So let's buy Activision Blizzard. Let's do this. Let's take as many shortcuts as we can to try to get as many people into the pool as possible and then sell them Game Pass. Like, that's basically what they're doing. So until the cloud gaming thing comes through, if the rumors are true about that story we had months ago about them to be able to transfer data in the cloud at a much faster rate than it was than formerly thought of, if those things are true, then Xbox eventually will have a service where you can play great games just by paying a fee, as opposed to having to buy a system. Right. You just have the cloud. Well, that's it. Already.
Yeah.
Right. Well, slowly. Yeah. Right. But in current market conditions, I believe what some other people have already been talked about, I believe the console war currently is over and PlayStation has won console wars because they have actual next gen games for their next gen system.
Sure.
I'm looking at a black paperweight that plays last gen games upgraded. Yeah. That's what I'm looking at. I paid $500 for an upgrade system for old games. I want a next-gen title. And if one of you mentions Forza, I'm erasing you from the damn chat. All right? So, I don't give a shit about the driving game. I want a real next-gen game.
Boss says that there was no war, right? And I agree with that. And I've said this in the very beginning. Before they even came out with the systems, I said because of Game Pass and what they're doing and the way they're marketing, I said they're playing a completely different game. So from the start, Microsoft wasn't even in the ring. Yeah, they had a box, but they weren't competing. They've never competed with PlayStation. Let's be honest. None of their systems have ever sold more than a PlayStation system. I think the top selling, I think, was the 360, and that sold like 80 million.
That was right. That was the last time the Xbox was on top.
Copies or something like that, right? And that's off the top of my head.
Right, but to be fair, remember that happened during a lot of other industrial upheaval, and so that generation of systems lasted a long time. That was 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. Yeah.
Right, that's a long time.
Yeah,
a decade.
I think that Microsoft conceded before this even war started. And I find it funny, though, because PlayStation has always, and it's not PlayStation themselves, it's the fans of PlayStation, right? And I'm not a PlayStation fan, I'm not an Xbox fan, I'm not a Nintendo fan. I'm just a gamer, right? So I'll play the games wherever they are on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. I own them all, except a PlayStation 5, which I'm waiting for them to upgrade them because I'm not going to spend on the old system. I'm waiting for the upgrade for the Pro or the Slim or whatever they're going to come out with. But the Sony fans compete with, because of the graphic intensity of PlayStation, they compare to Xbox, but they never compare to Nintendo. Nintendo's off on their own world, while these two companies fight, Sony and Xbox, and they just surpassed
doing their own thing.
They just surpassed PlayStation 4 at 117 million. They have 122 or 123 million copies sold for the consoles for the Switch. Okay. They're playing like a completely different game, and I find it funny when people and there's a couple of them in chat that plant their flag in a plastic box and are just super fanboys because they feel like Sony's going to send them a Christmas card or a birthday card when they're sick in bed, right? But Nintendo's actually whooping ass, right? But Sony doesn't look at that because they obviously are playing 60 frame games where Nintendo's playing on 30 frame games on a Switch, right? But yes, overall, as a company, Nintendo is actually a better company.
Yes, but Nintendo didn't stand on top of the mountain and scream out, "This is what we're selling you."
Right.
They just said, "Hey, we're making another system. We're making some games for it," and everyone's like, "Cool, Nintendo, let's play some games." But when you stand on the top of the mountain and scream out 60 FPS, 4K, rah, 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 over and over again, and then you sell me something that doesn't do what you said it was supposed to do, then how am I supposed to feel about it?
Right.
How am I supposed to feel that? And I'm tired of the word up to 60, up to 120, up to 4K, up to. Like, it gives me a headache. Either you do it or you don't, but you advertised it, right? I didn't advertise it, you did.
Statements like this, boss, this is naive because you're in love. You're in love with Sony. I get it. She's the hot stripper girlfriend that you're in love with, and you think Sony's so beautiful. God of War, the 60 frames per second game that's fantastic and everyone loves, right? And I'm not making fun of it. Sold 11 million copies in 3 months. 3 months. Okay, a Nintendo game, first-party title Nintendo game, sold 10 million copies in 3 days, right? That's the difference between Nintendo and Sony. You see what I'm saying? Right? Took you 3 months to sell 11 million copies, where Nintendo sells stuff in days. Okay? Exponentially more than what PlayStation's doing. Okay? And it's not about the quality of 60 frames or 30 frames. I'm talking about company.
It is a little bit.
No. I'm talking about company success of what it is. And Nintendo is in this own little category, but no one ever says, "Oh, we're beating Nintendo." They compete against each other. Sony needs Xbox, and Xbox needs Sony, okay? Because they're not competing with Nintendo. Nintendo, I call it the life cycle, right? You're born, they hand you a Nintendo, you die, you turn it back in, okay? You're a Nintendo fan from birth to death, okay? You don't become a Sony PlayStation fan until you're like early teens, okay? And most people just kind of buy the Xbox because it's a cheaper system with the S. Okay, it's $250. Now systems are $500 with the graphic cards and stuff that they're inside that system. Okay, so sure, they're all different things. I've talked about this in the past. If you want a mobile device type of game, you're now either going to get a Steam Deck or you're going to get a Nintendo Switch. Okay, but if you're a Nintendo guy, they have all those first party titles, so you're going to get the Nintendo Switch and you're going to buy a Steam Deck. Okay. If you are a Sony guy, you're going to buy a Sony PlayStation and you're going to buy a Switch. You see what I'm saying? The Switch is there regardless.
But the options are almost out of hand. Like, basically, you can have a really high-end phone and just use a wireless device and attach your controller to your phone. So I can play Microsoft games on my phone with an Xbox controller. Like same kind of thing with PlayStation. You have so many more options now.
Right.
Like Steam Deck to me is fantastic. I looked at the specs, I see how it is, and I'm like, but then I think to myself, is this something I really need on the go when I'm traveling? Because why? Right? But is it, if I look at it as what the product is it a badass handheld system that plays great games in that format? Yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
Considering, because think about what we had when we grew up. What was our handheld devices? Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy.
Right. The Lynx was out for a while.
Yeah.
Right. The Lynx. Then the Sega had this handheld thing that didn't last very long, but Sega had theirs. Right. But in 2023, that system, that handheld system, that's amazing.
Right.
For what it is. But if I can still use my phone and just plug it in, a controller into it, and play games, really all you're complaining about is the screen size. Right?
Right.
Right. It's all what you're willing to put out for your entertainment. Right? We have owned every system. Right? I don't buy all the handheld systems,
no,
but we own every system. Right. And if we sell them, I always buy the updated version later on, and I put it in the closet. I have currently every system ever made since the beginning of systems. They're just sitting in a tub, in a crate, wrapped up in a thing, and they're in the garage. Like I don't even put them in the attic because I don't want them to melt. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I've seen all the systems. Right. They all have the pros and cons, but where we're living right now, where people are battling out to say which system is better. Well, first of all, the system is better if you have games for your fucking system.
Right.
Right? If you actually make games for the system that you had, then you're winning. It's not hard to figure out. The part that angers me the worst is the dev kits go out 18 months prior to release. So the devs know what the system can do. You got 18 months to figure out what you're going to do, then build a game based off of that. Sure, it takes 2 or 3 years to come out with a decent game, or 5 years to come out with a decent game. But we're already 4 years into the life cycle of this thing. On the 5th year, almost technically, and we have no games.
Right.
We're arguing about the argument I've seen in chat rooms and other people's podcasts is they're arguing whether or not 4K or 1080p, or they're arguing about the speed of the. I don't care. Right? If you made the specs for this system to be this, then where's the games for those specs? You had the time, right? They're talking about upgrading and old games upgrading. I want a game.
My whole point, though, is that PlayStation fanboys, right? And you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you. You know who I'm talking to. Okay? You guys always pick, like, if I pick the retarded kid on the basketball court, okay, of course I can beat him. And let's be honest, Xbox is that kid right now. Okay, is the last kid getting picked on the basketball court. Okay, you play ball, but you're beating on that kid. Nintendo is standing in the corner going, "I'm beating all of you," and you guys are arguing on who's better. And Sony, if it wasn't for Xbox, they wouldn't be number one. Do you see what I'm saying? They wouldn't be number one if they weren't picking on Xbox.
If you remove Xbox from Microsoft and you just do what Xbox is making, right? Not what Microsoft is making. If I just remove that part of the company out, like what they're doing standalone, they're not beating anybody. Right? They're like third or fifth.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyone, right? Microsoft has a shit ton of money because they sell other things. But their gaming division, compared to other gaming divisions whose lifeblood is making fucking games, they suck. Right? They're not doing well. Right? You talk a good game. You keep telling me about these games that are coming out, but how many games have you canceled or not, or just decided to stop completely, or don't give a shit about?
Right. Well, let's go from this conversation to the next conversation, which is Xbox and Redfall. Okay. Redfall, up to this point, it was supposed to come out last year. Okay, it's a first party title. It's made by Arcane Studios. Okay. And Redfall is coming out just weeks before, and they say it's only running 30 frames per second. Okay, 30 frames per second on Xbox consoles, and people are starting to worry. Okay, Arcane says performance mode option enabling 60 frames per second will be released later. And I said this on a regular stream. I was like, not if it doesn't sell well. Not if no one's playing the game. Why would they even take the time to make a 60 frames per second if no one's playing the game anyway, right? So Arcane, not Left 4 Dead co-op shooter Redfall, is set to arrive in less than 3 weeks, and the closer it gets, the more concerned it becomes. The latest bit of bad news arrived earlier today, which is about a week and a half ago. Developer Arcane Studios revealed that Xbox version of the game will be limited to 30 frames per second at launch. Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only, and the studio said via the official Redfall Twitter account that 60 frames per second performance mode will be added via game update at a later date. Its practical terms, that means that Redfall is trading speeds for looks, and it will run at 4K 30 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, while the Series S console will handle at 1440p at 30 frames per second, and there's no indication as to when later date for the performance mode option will be. Now, my thing, Sarge, is I've always pushed back on this as far as, like, I personally don't care about 30 and 60. I'll play 60, I'll play 30. I'm not a big. I don't get nauseous or sick, but I do know. Absolutely, I understand there's people that get nauseous, but I look at it this way: if it's a person that if I use the analogy of the car, if you had a car with roll-up windows and manual locks, and then you went up to a car with power windows and power locks, you're never going backwards because you don't want to roll up that window and unlock that manual lock anymore.
Because it's a new standard.
Correct, and this is what I'm saying.
It's a new standard.
So you don't want to go. You don't want to go backwards. Okay, so. When they first came out with they announced the X, they said that these games will be coming out and up to 120 frames per second, but there's 60. They were shooting for 60 frames up to 120. They weren't shooting for 30, saying 30 frames per second up to 120. They were saying 60 frames up to 120, right? And that's my problem. They sold this system on a lie, all right, on an empty promise of stuff,
yes.
And it's been 3 years now. And yes, there are games that are running at 60 frames per second. I get that. But brand new games that are not on last-gen systems, okay, should be running at 60 frames per second, at least on the X. Okay, so right now, in my opinion, Redfall should not launch until they have the 60 frames per second for the X, because that's what people are expecting from a thing like this. This has nothing to do with people that are like, well, I'll play 30 frames per second. It's no big deal. It still looks good. That's not the point. The point is that they said that next-gen games will run at 60 frames up to 120 frames per second. And because the S is here, it's...
The potato.
Right, the potato.
The potato.
Okay.
Don't even name it.
You can't get it to run at 60 frames per second.
It's a potato.
Okay. And that to me is not. It's a sad excuse for them to be like, well, the S is.
But you shot yourself in the foot, right? Developers have to develop for the system specs that they have. If Microsoft decides to give the developers 2 sets of specs, and you say to them, well, if you're going to make a game for us, if you're going to make a game and you want it to be on our platform, then I need you to make it work on both. Right? That's not fair, right? You're cutting into their development time because they're trying to squeeze a beach ball into the golf ball hole, right? It doesn't fit. Your memory sucks. It doesn't work, but you have to. We have to, because why? Everyone say it now. Game Pass, right? Right? It has to be. Right? That's why you have an S, because that's going Game Pass, because you don't have a disk drive. So I have to online. So Microsoft wants subscription model. That's what they want. That's what Xbox the potato is. It's a subscription box. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? They are not in the same market. You've said it. I've said it. Everybody else is finally saying it. It's not the same. They are trying to capture people in a way where you are playing games for a service fee, and you hope that on the service, there might be some games that I want to play that are at the speed I should be, because I paid for the goddamn system. Right? That's the point, right? PlayStation's like, we'll have a subscription model. I make badass games for my badass system. Everyone play my badass game. I was like, great. I love it. Give me your badass games. I love to play them. Great. But they're not on the service end of it yet. However, as time goes on, if PlayStation loses market share because more people are handing over 3 games or 4 games worth of titles a year to Microsoft,
then they're not spending it on them. Right.
You can't have 5 or 6 AAA titles coming out on Xbox every year, right? They're doing a great job where they are right now.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job. They have badass games, AAA style, speeds that are supposed to be matching for the system currently right now. But you can't
you're saying
have
Sony.
that
You're saying
every
Sony
year.
can't. Yeah. I thought you
they can't have it. So we're going to reach a point where people are paying Microsoft, okay, 4 or 5 games a year between the subscription to Game Pass and the games that you actually buy, right? It was said in the past, we did the numbers, an average gamer did, I think it was like 2 or 3 games, major titles a year. So Game Pass is basically telling you,
covers that.
we want that 3 games automatically before you buy anything else.
Right.
So if I'm able to take my, let's just say 60 million, let's say 60 million people have an Xbox worldwide, not just in our country, 60 million people. If I get them to go from 3 games a year to 5 games a year,
right, or even 4, even 4 games,
then I've increased my profits by 20-25%, right? That's something that they want to do. Xbox, Game Pass, PlayStation, old school way of thinking, still works. Still works because they're following what the hardware can do. Why am I selling you hardware? Next gen graphics, next gen games that match. Now you have to pay a premium. They say premium, but let's not really call it a premium. Let's just call it the cost of doing business, because a game used to take 2 to 3 years to make. Now it's taking 5 to 7 to make, and you need more people, which means more labor. Right. It costs more to make a game. So if I sell 10 minutes, listen, if we go back to the amount of games that they sell, somewhere between 8 and like 12 million copies for a game is like really good. Like that's a good game. Like a 10 million copies sold, 12 million copies sold, right? Well, 12 million copies times $60 or 12 million copies times $70. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if I'm hiring hundreds of people to make this game over a 5-year period, you're looking at a few $100 million just to pay the bills. Right? So the game has to come in at a price point, and you have to sell enough copies in order to cover the loan and make a profit so you can build the next game, right? Currently, right? And there's so many podcasts talking about the same shit. They just need to just agree and let's move on with the story. The battle right now, is the developers versus the suits, right? The developers sit in a room, they're creative people, they want to come up with a title, they have an idea in their head, they want to make this game, whatever this game might be. You name it, doesn't matter, right? It's irrelevant. They want to make this game. However, this game is going to cost X amount of money to make, and it's going to take 5 years. The suits come over because the suits are the only ones that have the money up front to give to them, or you want to call them publishers, we can call them publishers. I call them suits, okay? The suits come over and says, we can help you. We'll give you the money to make this game. And now here comes the demand list. Well, our studies show that if you do games as a service, and our studies show if you do a live service and you do microtransactions and you do loot boxes, we can make X more. And so now you have to pigeonhole all that shit into the game that you want to make. And so this battle goes on for 5 years. And when it finally sells, the developers do 2 things. They either fucking quit, which we've seen now for the last 8 years. How many studios have decided after they release a game that they're either fired, dismantle, and whether they push them together, right? They suck them up, blow them out, whatever you want to call it. How many development teams are being destroyed every 5 to 7 years because they're done with them, or they're done with the whole deal, or they want nothing to do with it? That's the battle right now. This is the battle. How many guys have quit? How many guys have just said, fuck it, I'm not doing this? How many guys have started their own studios from scratch again because they're too big? The studio's too big, and they have to rely on the suit money in order to make the game now. So they're scaling back. They want to make their own game with their own money, and if they do well and they get enough money, they can do a bigger project without the suits interfering. This is where we are, right? I don't care that you think that the games are awesome or not. We're in a battle right now. There's not enough replacements for the developers. They are burnt out, like shitty contracts. It's just pissing on them, right? And no one cares. You can see it in the games.
Yeah.
If you haven't been witnessing what's been happening over the last 5 to 7 years, of what's been happening to the quality of games and the burnout of the developers, because this constant battle of what has to be in the game, where before it was, we're making a game. Here it is. We see if it works and if it doesn't work, but that's not the rules. When you're under a publisher, the rules are we have to make this amount of money by this date, or you don't get your bonuses. And they dangle this shit in front of them, right? And then they get burned out. They just burn out. They don't give a shit, right? I'm tired of watching development teams be destroyed, right? I'm tired of looking at 18-month contractors who love the game, but then they're ripped apart and they just go somewhere else. They're all scabs.
They don't get to stay on there. Yeah.
There's no loyalty to the IP or the company because they don't want to pay them. So they just pay them the shit pay, and when the game is done, they collect their money and their bonuses. I won't mention any names, and then they just push everybody else out. Yeah. This is where we are.
Well, that's because what Redfall is and what all other games are. This is why Game Pass is great for consumers, terrible for the industry, right? The problem that Sony will have, that they can't keep up with what Microsoft is doing because they're just throwing money at it, right? And Sony's baking these companies where they're having a God of War, but it takes God of War 5 to 7 years to get made, right? So, and then Horizon Forbidden West comes out, and then so Sony has where they're coming out with 1, maybe 2 games a year, first party, great quality, they're awesome. But that's just it. Then the next time you see a God of War is 4 years from now or 5 years from now. The next time you see a Horizon game is 4-5 years from now. The next time you're going to see an Uncharted or whatever the next first party title is going to be 4 to 5 year cycle, which now you're talking that you're only going to get like 1 per console, right? One of those games per console, because God of War,
maybe,
right? God of War 1 was on PlayStation 4, and then it came to 5, right? This one's on 4, but it was for 5. You might get 1 more. You might get the 3rd God of War at the tail end of PlayStation 5 going into 6, whatever. So Xbox is on the other thing where they're like, we have 48 studios, and we're pumping them out every 2 years, okay? So they could literally take 10 companies and put out subpar quality games on Game Pass that you're paying for $10, $15 a month, okay? And they're getting 10 first-party title games that are mediocre and or like a Redfall or like a Starfield when it comes out and it's not the greatest. You're having fun, but I'm talking about quality of game compared to quantity of game, right? And they're putting them out and trying to get these games out as fast as possible. That's what Microsoft's trying to do right now. When they get Activision, you know Diablo is coming on Game Pass, right? You know that all the games that Blizzard and Activision owned are going to come to Game Pass at some state or whatnot. And the turnaround and the value is great for consumers. But like you were talking about with the devs, they can't keep up with this because they want it out as fast as possible. Hey, we need games on Game Pass as fast as possible. It doesn't matter if it's done or not.
Put it out there. Factory. Yeah. Like it's a factory. Yeah. It's not a factory. Oh, okay. I'm coming back at you now, Travis. You have to understand, when you were still in diapers, a video game was made by a bunch of guys who had an idea, who got loans from independent contractor people who wanted to fund the art of the game. It's what it is. It's art. And if the game did well, the studio would be recognized. They would have a following. They would have an easier time getting money, and then they would make their sequel, right? But because of the graphic intensity and the complexity of the games now, you need a larger group of people, and pay is higher because of what this industry is now. It's a high salary industry, right? You have a lot of programmers. I know that they might not make a lot. You think about the low guys on the totem pole, but the graphic designers, you're looking at 80K, 90K, 6 figures, right? And so to hang on to these people, you need to sell a certain amount of games, right? And so the only way you can sell a certain amount of games is the game has to be good. And the battle is now the difference between how much money I can squeeze out of the game as opposed to, this is my idea. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then we move on. The suits don't want that. They want they have it in their heads that they have to make bare minimum this. That's why there's battle passes. That's why there's loot boxes. That's why there's games as service, because they can keep charging the person to play the game for the 2 or 3 years that the game is out, right? As opposed to, I sold 12 million copies total and we're moving on. Right? No. Now it's 12 million copies sold, plus the skins, plus the battle passes, and it's like this revenue stream for as long as the game is out. And then they decide whether or not the people that have already made the first game, if we're going to keep them on, if we're going to actually pay them, or if we're going to fire them and find another studio to do it because now they want too much money. So we're going to get another studio who doesn't ask for as much money, fit them into the box, and make them do the same thing. This is what we're doing, guys. This is what we're doing.
All right, we're going to go to the next story, which is this is interesting to me, right? So, speaking of Xbox, speaking of PlayStation, speaking of PC, Oxenfree, which I loved. I loved Oxenfree. If you guys never played Oxenfree 1, is a fantastic game.
As in Ollie Oxenfree?
Yeah, Oxenfree, yeah. So there's Oxenfree II coming out, which is a small little studio, and it got purchased, Night School Studios, they got purchased by Netflix, I think last year, I think it was last year in 2022. They picked them up, and now they're making this game for mobile devices. They're making it, and it's coming out on July 12th this year, 2023. It's coming out on the Nintendo Switch. It's coming out on PlayStation 5. It's coming out on PlayStation 4. It's coming out on Steam, and it's coming out on Netflix. Okay? The one thing that's not there is Xbox. Now,
weird.
We're speculating here. We don't know if it's not coming to Xbox at all. We don't know if the deal hasn't gone through yet, and maybe it's coming to Game Pass because the last Oxenfree was on Game Pass at one point. So this is a small little indie studio. A lot of people are looking at this going, well, Netflix is a streaming service. Okay. It is a streaming service. And if it's a streaming service and Game Pass is a streaming service, they're looking at it that Netflix doesn't want to put their game on a competitive streaming service. What do you think, Sarge? Do you think that's what's happening here? Netflix is trying to get their... they're not making like these AAA studio games. They're just making games where this is going to be able to be played on your cell phone. And it's also going to be played on consoles and whatnot, but they didn't put it on Xbox. Do you think there's a deal going through and just haven't made it yet? Or do you think it's not coming to Xbox at all?
It seems weird how Xbox is left out of it. Just in general.
Right. Especially since it's not a high-end graphically game or anything like that. It's a beautifully done game. The art style and stuff in this game is fantastic. Wherever it lands, I'm probably going to play it on Steam then. To be honest with you, it's a fantastic game.
I mean, I think you have to wait a little bit longer to see if maybe they just didn't work out a deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or Netflix doesn't want to give them a game that they can have on their Game Pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, because in the statement that Phil Spencer said, he says he's worried about companies like Google and Amazon, and obviously Netflix is they can't win their subscribers anymore. They're at their saturation point. So much so that they're getting, well, they try to lock down people to make them pay because they were losing out on 100 million people weren't giving Netflix money because they were taking someone else's code, right, and
Sure.
login and stuff. And then they're getting rid of the hard copies now of actual discs come September.
What a surprise!
Netflix is not doing that anymore. So that whole whoever's still getting discs now, they have to go up a level because they're not going to be getting discs anymore, right? So they're going to be going into a little different area. So it's interesting to see that Netflix is getting into the gaming market. We all knew this already. But now it's just a little weird that they're not letting it. Now, obviously, 3 weeks from now, Netflix could be like, oh, yeah, no, it's coming out for Xbox. We just didn't make a deal with them yet. We don't know what the deal is, right? Because maybe they can't put it on. Maybe they don't want their game on day and date on Game Pass because they want people to come to their streaming service or pay them, right? Either pay for Netflix to play the game or buy it on these other systems. And maybe Xbox is like, we don't want it on your system unless it's on Game Pass. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to put it on Game Pass day one. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that they put it out there and it's not there. It's not on Xbox. So from that, I want to go to the next story, which is not so much on Jedi Survivor, but it's more about how big games are getting, Sarge. Okay, so Star Wars Jedi Survivor is weighing in at 147.5 gigs on the PlayStation 5. It's coming in at 144 gigs on the Xbox Series X. And then the Series S, it's coming in at 44 gigs. Right? 100 gigs less than the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. My question to you, Sarge, do you think games are going to get so ridiculously big? Okay. Obviously, there's ways to expand your storage on both the systems. You can take the hard drive and make it a terabyte or more in your PlayStation 5. You can get the little cards and stick them in the back of your Xbox and whatnot to expand your storage. But Marvel's, when it came out, by the end, it was like 140 gigs, right? Hogwarts was like 100 gigs or whatever, or 80 gigs, 100 gigs. This is Call of Duty is like 120 gigs. This is 147 gigs. Do you think they're getting so big that they're gonna charge you different ways now for the size of the game to make you store it on a cloud or something?
No. This is the part that's not talked about. See, I believe that current AI will help developers program better and faster, right? This way they can cut down on costs, okay? And the game can come out quicker. Right? That's what they're looking at. I believe that Microsoft is working on cloud gaming to the point where if that data transfer rate isn't bullshit, and they were talking about transferring
the gigs.
Yeah. If that's possible, then in reality, you no longer need to have a system. You're basically just using the data in your house to transfer the game to your house to whatever box hardware you're using, whether it be a PC or entertainment center or your television for that matter, and you just play it directly onto your television, right?
Right.
So maybe you need some RAM, or maybe you need like a mini storage device to put in the beginnings of the game, and everything else is in the cloud. Like that to me sounds like what they want to do, because how else can I, in the way that they talk, how else can I increase profits? Right? Unless I lower labor costs and find ways to get rid of the things that are in between. So if I have no hardware and I have I have nothing to sell, no physical product, and I can charge you a service and charge you for the game, and you have the thing in your house already, then whatever I charge you is profit, right? Like that's the only way they can increase profit. I think the size of the games are only going to get bigger. So then you have two options. Either we have to have massive storage devices in our home, or it's cloud gaming, right? And I don't think they wanted. I don't think they want you to have hard drives, because then you have things.
Right
They
now,
want you to own nothing.
Right now, you do have hard drives still. But remember back in the day when you wanted to save your game on the old PlayStation stuff, you had to have those little cards that you would shove into your PlayStation, because the games are getting too big and the save files and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is what's happening the same way. They're going back to where you're not going to have enough storage for stuff. And this is what they want, right? They want you to get the games digitally and stack them on your system, and kind of like forget about it. You're like, oh, I'm just going to delete this game to make room for this game, and you forget about the other game. And you kind of like look through your system later, and you're like, oh, I'm going to download that again. But this is going to get frustrating, right? Because I do it right now. I have an external hard drive, but I can't play a lot of games because it says you can't play this game from an external hard drive. It's just on there as a hard drive, but then I have to move it over to the system, right, to actually play it. I don't know.
But that's why Steam does what Steam does, right? If I own the game, right? If I have the game, it's on my system. If I erase it, Steam knows I've had it before, so it doesn't charge me for getting it again, because it knows I already had it. But if it doesn't recognize some of the older games, like I'll give you a good example. Like when I got the new computer, I played Dawn of War 2, right? But I have Dawn of War 1. But it's so old now that it didn't recognize it from the other computer. So it thinks that I never owned it. So now if I want to play Dawn of War 1, I have to buy it again from Steam.
Yeah.
Well, the answer is no, I'm not doing that. The answer is I'm going to buy an external disk drive and just re-download it onto my computer, right? That's basically what I end up doing. But that's what they want. They don't want you to have it. They just want to know that you've paid for it at least once so you can move it around.
Yeah. Until they shut the servers down, you can't get it. Yeah, Manta says having a hard drive now doesn't even mean you own the game anymore. Right? We don't own any game anymore. It doesn't matter if you have a physical copy or not. You just have a game, right? What's going on, Farmer? The next one I want to talk about is Hogwarts Legacy was very successful, right? Went on, and it's about to come out again for the older systems. I'm hoping that the older systems don't have any major problems and it comes out flawless like it did for the most part for the new consoles. But everyone was talking about Quidditch. Before the game came out, they're like, I hope there's Quidditch. I hope there's Quidditch. And then there was no Quidditch. And they're like, oh, Quidditch is in the game. There has to be something in the game. there was rumors that they actually had it in the game and they removed it. But now there's an actual Harry Potter Quidditch game, okay? It's a standalone game, Sarge, and this is what it looks like. Let me get it. It's called the Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, okay? The art style is completely different than the actual video game itself. There's a playtest going on right now, but it's a standalone game. And now when I signed up for this and I registered to get this, it asked me questions like, have you played games like Rocket League? Have you played? And I was like, holy Christ. That's exactly the way I pitched this thing. I said, the game should come out like Rocket League, right? Rocket League is a fantastic, simplistic game, man. It's soccer with cars, right? I was like, oh, you just make soccer with brooms. I mean, that's basically what it is. If they make it fun, it can be fantastic. Now, do you think this is the reason, Sarge, that they had Quidditch in the game, but Warner Brothers is like, no, you got to take that out because we have a standalone game that we're working on for Quidditch, and you need to take that out of your game so we could sell this game. Do you believe that? I believe that.
125%.
Yeah.
Money.
I don't think that Portkey was like, oh yeah, like maliciously taking it out, going, oh no, we're not. I think WB called them up and were like, yeah, no, you cannot put a Quidditch, but we have the whole stadium built in the thing. Yeah, we'll just talk about why we can't have it in the game. We'll just say that the head guy banned it for the school year, and we'll talk about it later, right? So maybe Hogwarts 2 might have Quidditch, but we're not getting an update with Quidditch in it because why? This bad boy is coming out, and they need to make money off of this. Now, I'm not sure, this will probably be a free-to-play game, okay? If they do the exact same thing, a business model as Rocket League, and then you'll buy skins and different things and different trinkets and different, that's what I believe where this is going. Now, obviously, Portkey Games is the same people that created, okay, Hogwarts Legacy. Okay, now Avalanche Studio worked on that, but Portkey Games is the one that in charge of the Harry Potter brand. And I guarantee you this is what they said. They're like, yeah, just scrap it from the game. We have our own another game coming out, free to play, microtransactions, and I think that's what's happening. Chat, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this game was an afterthought? Or do you think this game was from the start, this was their MO, right? Think about what they did with, speaking of Star Wars Battlefront earlier, okay? They have a Starfighter Assault in the game, but EA said, no, let's make a separate version of Squadrons and just have that game mode and try to sell that for $40, right? Because it wasn't a full price game. It was a $40 game at the time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this game. Hopefully it comes out and it's a fun game. It's like Rocket League. When I mean like Rocket League, it's simplistic. It's easy to pick up, but yet it's people that master Rocket League, there's depth there.
Yeah, but I think trying to separate a part of a Harry Potter game into its own separate thing just for the sake of trying to milk it for money, as opposed to just putting it in the damn game, okay, is stretching. It's stretching, right? Because you're trying to maximize profits. I get it, right? But we all know Quidditch should be in the goddamn game because that's where it belongs. You can't say that you're going to rip out Quidditch and make that a separate game, and you think everyone's going to play Quidditch like they play FIFA,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it might be interesting for a little while. 5-on-5, your friends are playing, you have a good time.
Yes. Yeah.
But like, is it a game that I'm going to buy skins for 8 years, and you're going to reset my team every year? I don't think so.
No, I don't think it'll be that far in depth. I don't think it'll go that far in depth. I think it's literally just turn on. It's like that roller skating game we played from Ubisoft, the roller derby game that we played, and then there was another quick game that came out. Like, it's just a easy, quick sport game to put out there, but no like low tier effort. We'll see what they do. But yeah, that's coming out as well. Another game I want to talk about, Sarge, is Suicide Squad. Okay, Suicide Squad. We weren't. My computer was dead during this time period. We both liked what we saw when we saw the actual game. Right, a lot of people got pushed it back because they didn't like.
I knew why.
Yeah, they don't like it because they don't like the superheroes with guns, and they don't like that it was always online and whatnot. But it was official now. Okay, it was reported about a month ago, right after our last show. I said it's a rumor. We don't know. It hasn't happened yet, but it happened after we were off for 5 weeks. Okay, where Suicide Squad is delayed now till February 2nd of 2024. Now, this made me laugh out loud. Okay? Out loud, I was laughing. Okay? I was like, 10 more months for a game that you were about to sell us 2 weeks from now. Right? Like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the hell it was. Okay? You were going to sell this game to us at full price. Actually, more than full price, $70. Okay? For this looter shooter. Okay? Which I compared to Anthem and Marvel's as the same type of business model that they have going on where everything's free, cosmetics, marketplace type stuff like that, right? The content will be free. And now it's delayed till next year. What the hell do you think they're going to do in 10 months, Sarge, to fix this game if that's why they're fixing it, right? So let me read this real fast, right? It says, insider comments that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League latest delay tells fans not to get their hopes up for the drastic changes, right? People are starting to think that I think they're going to take out the always online thing. But if they do that, that's going to change the loot system in the game, right? Because if it was always online, it changes what the loot system drops and whatnot. So a reliable industry insider just commented on the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League delay, advising fans not to expect any radical changes controversial superhero action shooter. While gamers are initially excited to chance to dive back into Rocksteady's exciting Batman Arkham universe as anti-heroes task force, it says, not to get Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League show off February's PlayStation State of Play live stream, rumors began to circulate that Rocksteady was planning to delay the game past its previous plan of May 26th launch date. This would also indeed be the case, as Rocksteady announced a massive delay for Suicide Squads till February 2nd of 2024. Now, it says not too long after, though, the release date announced, Bloomberg Jason Schreier commented on the situation as he did a brief period between February State of Play and the official delay of the announcement. Schreier advised fans not to expect any major changes to Suicide Squad gameplay model, reiterating that the delay will likely be to polish. Okay, what is polish in 10 months, Sarge? For a game that was supposed to come out in a month, what does it mean for this game?
Right, that's it. Right, I don't even have to say a word. This is what it means.
You gotta move it over. You gotta move it over.
There's
no. There you go.
There's no way you want me to believe that you were 2 weeks away from releasing game.
4 weeks.
Yeah. I'm sorry, a month, and you want another year to polish. Right? I don't want to hear any bullshit. Let's just talk facts. Right? You basically made a Borderlands game with superhero skins. Okay, and you put giant purple targets on everything so the casual gamer knew where to shoot.
Right.
Okay, and so that you called a superhero game, and everyone was like, I don't understand what we're doing. These aren't superheroes. These are just superheroes. Like, it's like Fortnite. You're just putting a superhero skin
it felt like
and you're shooting guns.
Yeah.
It's not a superhero game. I don't understand why we just can't make a superhero game. What is the problem? Right? Superheroes have been out forever. Everyone knows what they are, who they are, what their abilities are, and if they don't, you can just pick up a comic book or look it up online and figure out all the things that the particular hero has. And you can just put that in the game. No. Instead, we want to casualify everything, put a superhero skin on, because then I can sell superhero skins to everybody and everybody has a fun time. Meanwhile, okay, this particular game, right, doesn't use any superhero abilities other than you say Deadshot has super abilities because he actually shoots, right? But he doesn't throw his boomerang. He's got a gun.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, so now you think after probably a good 4 or 5 years of development, you're going to fix a game in 10 months? You're going to have to restructure the whole damn game in order to make this work properly, right? Maybe someone should have had a test thing long before the 1 month time clock ticked over to find out what they were doing.
It was supposed to come out in 2021 originally, and then it got pushed, and then it got pushed, and now it got pushed again.
Okay, well, if you're pushing it, it's not done.
Right.
It's just not done.
I'm more upset because they were going to drop this game a month from now, right? They were going to sell you this $70 game, and it would have came out, and then you would have had two forms of people. You would have had people that this game sucks, and then you would have people, well, I'm having fun, right? And the game would be broke, buggy, unfinished, and they would take the next 18 months to fix it. Now, they're taking 10 months before you spend your hard-earned money on a game. Okay, it comes out February next year, and then they'll fix it for the next 6 months to 8 months after the game comes out.
I don't have goldfish brain, right? So let's just talk about it right now. Mark the timestamp right now, and we're gonna say, do you believe it comes out in February?
I do, and this is the only reason I think this, right? I'm basing it off of what they did with Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy was supposed to come out and it got delayed, right? They pushed it back from last year to this year to February, right? That February time slot again. Hogwarts sold really well for them, and this is where I think WB is delusional, okay? Hogwarts had a whole bunch of things going for it. One, because of the Harry Potter fandom and stuff like that. Two, because of the people that were boycotting and people wanted to buy the game. So it made really good sales in February. I think they looked at that and said, what if, because all these other games are coming out this year, we're gonna get clobbered, right? Because you got Jedi Survivor coming out next week. 3 weeks afterwards, you would have had this coming out, and then you would have Diablo following it, right? Like right on its heels.
Well,
like
you're saying
3 days later.
So you basically said they came up with more than a few reasons in order to give themselves more time.
I think they came up with a few reasons, and they're going to market like they did. So last year, starting in November, they had a stream, went into depth about the Harry Potter game or Hogwarts. Then they did another one in December, and they did another one in January, and then they released it in February too. Voila, a great applause because it was a good game, right? But they made a game, a fantastic game. It was a single-player game. It was fun. This is a multiplayer game, always online, looter, shooter. That's what this is, right? This is a Borderlands, this is a Destiny, this is an Anthem, this is a Marvel's Avengers, right? Free content, cosmetics, and then they're going to add more characters later down the road, right? Literally, it's Marvel's same type of business model. Not the same type of game, but business model, okay? So February comes now, and now we don't know what else is coming out, like any big games coming out in February next year as of yet. But right now, that's a time slot that they have. They're like, well, we did good last February, so why don't we just postpone it and do it again? I don't know. That's one of my reasons I think they're doing it.
It's disheartening to know that they don't know how to make a superhero game.
I mean, that's not
there
true.
There are superhero games that are out that are a template for other people to follow, but not every superhero game has to be the same template. Sure. Is what I'm saying.
Sure.
But if you're gonna make an all-star cast of superheroes and you don't give them any abilities and it's just all shooting and running around because it's like skins, then you can just put those guys inside of Fortnite and call it a day.
Right. Yeah, the reason I was looking forward to Suicide Squad is because I'm a big fan of Rocksteady, and Rocksteady made really good stories when they were doing the Batman series. And up until this point, even if the game looks rough, like I enjoyed Gotham Knights with the story that they did, okay, for the single-player campaign. The game's good. It's not great. It's not fantastic. It's a good game. I like the story. I was looking forward to playing another story of a superhero, like the superhero story. And Rocksteady tells good stories, and that's why I was looking forward to Suicide Squad. I wasn't really looking forward to the looter aspect of it, and then
were they taking pre-orders?
Not that I know of. Chad, were they taking pre-orders?
Was Suicide Squad taking pre-orders? Because if they got, because if they were, and they found out how many people were not signing up for it, that's probably another reason why they probably postponed.
It could 100%. I mean, that's what Outriders did, right? They'll never admit that, but that's what Outriders did. So, let's go to the next story, Sarge. Okay, this is just more of a stat. Okay, a new report reveals that nearly half the planet, Sarge, plays video games. Okay, nearly half the planet. So the gaming industry has come a long way since the first commercial video game hit in the market in 1971's coin-operated cabinet computer space. Over 50 years since the bulky machine first wowed players with the simple graphics and unwelding controls, gaming industry has undergone a revolution and consumed, now enjoying video games on all manners of devices. While dedicated gaming PCs and consoles are the first comes to mind, when many people think of video games, it totally reached a global gaming industry. It includes everything from the latest hardcore-focused console releases to cozy video games and titles designed on a mobile market. According to a new report from the industry analyst, the DFC Intelligence, a group that researchers in the gaming industry with the goal is delivering analytics to forecasting and reflects the market realities instead of the hype and wishful thinking. There are now 3.7 billion game customers globally. Although this number may seem surprising in the face, comprising just under half of the planet's total population, it does come with some caveats, though. While there are nearly 4 billion game consumers on the planet, the report states that there are only around 300 million hardware-driven consumers, responsible for driving the demand for dedicated gaming PCs and consoles like Sony's popular PlayStation 5. And a report also highlighted that also interesting findings about the makeup of the consumer's game market is the study showed that while the hardware-driven console gamers are heavily concentrated in North America and Europe, it's actually players enjoying mobile games that are repetitive and global population when it comes to where the players spend their screen time. For developers releasing titles primarily for PC and console, this shows there is massive untapped market potential for gamers just wanting to be reached, with a report noting that there is definitely an opportunity to expand video game hardware business. There you go, Sarge. This is why Xbox is purchasing Activision Blizzard for that mobile market, right? There's 3.7 billion people playing video games, and only 300 million are playing on consoles. Okay, everybody else is playing on mobile devices and whatnot, right? So, what do you think? Do you think 3.7 billion people were playing video games?
Well, your definition of video game is probably different.
Well,
right?
my
games
is what
the
they
games
just said.
the games that probably we're talking about in chat are games that people who are playing on their phones are not playing.
Sure. They just said majority of the population of planet Earth plays on their phones.
Yeah, but it's still a video game.
Sure.
It would be like saying all of a sudden everybody on the planet finally discovered video games for the first time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when you first started playing like an Atari game, or some of you in chat have been playing like your first Nintendo game, like you just started playing a game, right? Well, now people who didn't grow up with video games now have a thing in their pocket that has video games on it. Like, because those people weren't going to go out and buy a video game system.
Right.
They own a phone, right? And if you put entertainment on my phone, it's in my pocket. I'm going to look at something eventually and I'll find something that I like. And lo and behold, the thing that I like might be free. Woo! What a special day for me. But everything in the game costs me a nickel, $1, $1.25, $2.25. And I don't care because it's entertainment. And that's how I entertain myself. So those 3.2 billion people contribute a lot more money to companies,
right,
than you do by buying your 3 or 4 video games a year. So,
right. So now let's look at Game Pass, right, from the earlier story. If they get a market of just a small percent, 1% of the 3 billion market on the mobile devices, right? That's exponentially a lot more money. That's $10 more from 1% of 3 billion. Right, that's over 200 million people that will actually have Game Pass than paying $10 a month.
If I find a way to make a decent game on a phone, and I'm talking about a decent game like an RPG or an action shooter or something,
Genshin
and I get
and
I get people to give Game Pass money for mobile phone usage,
right?
Microsoft makes a killing,
right? They're making $1 billion a month, you know. So that's where it's insane. Water says, I don't think it'll be that big. 30, you can't play Game Pass on a slow device or bad internet connection. Yeah, but
the games are made for the phone. They're not made for the system.
You're thinking. Here's what I'm saying, Water. Like if they take Candy Crush, and they just happen to add that to Game Pass, right? And they take a whole bunch of other games like Candy Crush, and they just add them to Game Pass Mobile, right? Where people are paying subscription model right now. Like Apple is actually the most profitable gaming company right now because of their mobile subscription model for the phone, the games they make for the phone. Hence why Netflix is jumping in on that market, right? Hence why Microsoft wants to jump into that market. Hence why Google and Amazon are trying to jump in on that market, because that's where the money's at, right? So what I'm saying is if you're looking at it as AAA, AA games and stuff like that, I'm talking about Snake on your phone, okay? Snake on your phone on 3.7 billion devices that they have to activate through Game Pass, where they're paying a subscription model, right? And that injects the money into those people. Don't even touch the other games on Game Pass. It's just all included into that Game Pass. That's what I'm talking about, right?
The possibility is of revenue from that many people, because if your market is who owns a system as opposed to who owns a cell phone,
right?
Everybody owns a cell phone. As soon as you're 12, for most households, you got a cell phone. Right. So it's basically the population of the world. We're not even talking about the same economics anymore, right? If I sell a decent game on a phone and it makes money over time on 10% of the population of the world, it's ridiculous. We're talking about ridiculous numbers of money, like ridiculous, obscene money, right? So who do you think makes out, right?
Oh,
I'm sure eventually everyone will figure it out that I'm trying to market to somebody who's got a cell phone in their pocket. And once again, the cell phones will keep getting better, right? Pretty much, I think the cell phone, almost has the same power as like what, the PS2 now? Like a PS1 or PS2. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. So we're getting close.
And then you got to look at games, Water, like obviously like Genshin Impact on mobile, right? That's like mind blowing, the way the graphics are and stuff like that. And then you just get
you only
mobile, and then Apex mobile, and
right, that's correct. You need 5 or 10 little knick-knack games, 2 or 3 major title games that give people something to play either against each other. Why do you think those Final Fantasy games, those crazy army building games do so well? Because people compete against each other to see who gets the bigger army, and they keep paying money for resources. You have to watch some of these games that these guys play, man. I've watched them. It's insanity how much money some of these guys play, and the marketing behind the psychological aspect of the game. Like every Friday night, there's all these specials: $20 this, $30 this for the crystals. The war is going on this weekend. Everybody buys up a bunch of stuff, and they go to war, and they blow up all their armies, and it takes them a week to build up armies. So you buy the battle packs inside so it speeds up the building of the army. Like, bro, you're just throwing money. And you got your credit card hooked up directly to your phone, so you don't have to look at nothing. You just keep pressing yes. Like, they're just siphoning money from people, man. That's all they do.
And that is the downfall of gaming. All right, the next one I want to talk about
gaming. It's the apocalypse of those companies making money from gaming. Remember, nobody gave a shit about gaming, bro. Nobody gave a shit about gaming until
a nerd, a geek.
Nerd. Yeah. Nobody cared until gaming passed NFL. And that I remember that year distinctly, because the market changed pretty severe when they found out that gaming was making more money than football. And then that was it. And then from then on, everybody started making studios and trying to get their hands inside the cookie jar, because those people were making more money. Like, let's go. What do you mean gaming? What do you mean those nerds are making more money than football?
Yeah.
We got to get in on that.
Yeah. All right. So the next topic I want to talk about, I don't want to stay on too long, because we have to talk about this, and we have to talk about Division, and we have questions. We're going to go a little over since we have been absent for 5 weeks. But Diablo 4. Sorry, did you watch the stream, right? You saw the stuff that was happening on there. So what did you think about the glyphs and the Paragon trees? And
all right, so just so you understand, I played Diablo 1, I played Diablo 2, and I played Diablo 3. I played all of them. Okay, in my years of playing Diablo, I used to love the game for what it was. I watched this special, this little developers deep dive. In the first 20 minutes, I wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah, I was bored out of my mind, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I don't understand why you are trying to explain the convoluted aspects of your fucking game. Like, it's Diablo. I know what Diablo is. The part that started making me angry is how many levels of bullshit there are in the game to level up your damn character. And then I added in my head the battle pass factor that they kept talking about. So that means you have to make a new character 4 times a year times 10 years of the life cycle of the game.
So went over that. Yeah.
So 40 characters basically you have to make if you're going to buy the battle passes. It's basically just this other type of worldly type game now. It's not that we're going to have some fun and play Diablo and level up some armor and figure out what my guy can do. Now it's this whole, I'm going to have a main, and then 4 times a year I'm going to have to make a new character in order to go through the battle pass. Right? And then there's this currency, and then there's this currency, and then there's this. After he said the 4th currency, I was like, I don't care. I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
right? I don't care.
So I thought this part right here, I thought that was interesting, but playing all these looters, playing all these games to grind. I totally get that people are looking for end game stuff and what they want to put in and how much more time they can put in.
The genius part was the PvP part. You're going to be farming for stuff and have to buy shit in order to fight someone else. People are going to lose their fucking minds.
Well, no, that's all cosmetic stuff that you get from inside the PvP. The Paragon system here with the cards and the different things. When he was speaking, or when they were speaking about all the different perks and on the card, all I could think about was that I'm going to be sitting here once to spend some points, right? Before I get my first Paragon level, I'm going to look at the card and I'm going to be like, okay, how do I pick my card? Because they didn't tell us how you got to pick your card. Is it random? Do I have to pay to swap cards? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't like the card that you have? Do you have to spend gold to, like, change it? Do they give me an option of 3 different cards? What about if I don't like those cards? Then you get to rotate the card to find out what path you want to do, okay? And then you want to look at where you're going to go with your build. So this is like Division 2, where I have to empty my guns. I'm looking at all the stats. I'm going, okay, well, I want to get this gun. I want to update this. This is like break holding. Like, I want to go into the game and I just want to slaughter everything. Now I got to, like, pause, look and go, okay, what's on this card? Where do I want to go? What do I want to upgrade? Is this the right card for me? I got to make all these, like, decisions. Like, I'm sitting here for like 20 minutes trying to figure out a card to pick, and then I have to go up and go through the card. Then on top of that, there's layers of inside the card itself, right? There's rarity, there's legendary, there's unique, and then there's the thing that you can put on where it spreads a circle of red around, which you can see in this, and then anything it touches, it boosts those powers again, right, to help you. And I was just like, man, this is convoluted. This is really convoluted. And as of right now, you might be excited to look at this, but when you have to do this with your character, and then they said, when you go to the next card, it's going to cost more. And when you go to the next card, it's going to cost more. And this is the thing that Ferguson was talking about, that
time sink.
Well, he said that you're going to get so high in a level that it's just easier to start a new character than it is to continue to respect this.
It's done on purpose. It's
right.
A time sink.
And then why? That's what I want to know. Why is it done that way? Because what are they trying to grind us to stop us from doing so we can do what? Right? Like, what is that? What is that thing?
Well, if I have to play 40 characters, I have to buy new skins for my guy. I'm gonna get tired of looking at them, right?
Paul, you're looking at it and saying it's not hard. I'm not saying it's hard. Did hard come out of my mouth at all in any way, shape, or form? I said it's a break stopping. Like, you're looking at it going, okay, what do I have to do? Like, you're literally, we don't know how many cards you get to look at, right? Do I get to just keep scrolling through to see what the best route is for that one, and then I can rotate that one to see which one? Like, they didn't explain how you pick a card, okay? They also didn't go into, they said they buffed the characters, but
we're going to know soon enough. We're going to know soon enough.
This buff of the Barbarian and Druid, if all cars start at the starting line at the exact same time, but 3 of the cars go 0 to 60 in 1 second, and the other 2 go 0 to 60 in 5 minutes, those people are not going to have fun getting to the finish line, okay? Even if you have to put 40, 50 hours into your guy to make him powerful at that time, it's terrible. I'm going in as a Barbarian or Druid, okay? Because I'm always go left when everyone else goes right. I'm like, well, I'm going to play it just to see, because I want to be able to talk about it and go, yeah, it was miserable. It was miserable. I played it for 60 hours, and he didn't get powerful until 40, right? I want to be that person that tells you that, okay? So the buffs that they did and the nerfs that they've done to this don't really tell me a lot. They don't tell you if the Druid and Barbarian is better. Great. Barbarian's a flat 10% passive damage reduction, right? Because you're standing in pools of fucking poison while you're meleeing people, so they had to do that, right? So that's a good improvement. Okay, the Whirlwind skill now deals more damage and consumes more fury. And then the Double Swing skill enhancement refunds the full fury cost when you use stun or knock down enemies. Again, we don't know how this is going to work, and obviously you have to play the beta, which I can't play that weekend because it's my birthday weekend, so I can't play it to level 20 to get the horse armor or whatever they want me to get, okay? And then the Druid, okay, the companion skills now deal heavily increased damage. Cool. All unlimited skills have had a cooldown reduction. They don't tell you how much. They just, okay, cool. Unusable usable improvements made maul and pulverize better, and using non-shape-shifting skills will transform a druid back into their human form. Okay, great. And then they've also fixed the dungeons with the loops that they've done, which is they're awesome graphics here. If I can find it, they had some really good. Yeah, okay. They had the smiley faces and stuff on there. So you run through the dungeon. There's less backtracking now through the dungeons, which is nice because you would run through it and then go, where do I have to go? And then you have to go back through, and then you go the wrong way and whatnot. So they've changed it where you're running around and it's more fluid. I don't know why they have to make.
I also heard there's an ability that you can make the druid permanently into the werewolf, so people can be a werewolf character.
Yeah, you can be a werewolf character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why Water was like, all I heard. What did you say, Water? All you heard was he said something in chat and I missed it now. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this game. I am. The end game stuff though, they didn't really answer any of my questions, and when they were talking about it, it was like
we're gonna know soon enough.
It was
we're gonna know soon about.
You didn't play it at all, right? The beta or anything like that?
No.
Are you gonna try on the 12th or 14th?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't care. I really don't care because I can see the game. I don't have that kind of time. The game is a time sink, and I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
So if I was gonna play it, I would maybe get to play it maybe 2 or 3 hours a week if I'm lucky. And at that rate, I'm not in the category of buying battle passes, and I'm not even in the category of finishing the game for at least a couple months out. Right. So I don't care. Right. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, but I did play 3 other amazing games in the past, namely Diablo 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So if this game is the same, except that it costs me more money and I have to play longer to get my satisfaction out of it, then I don't have the time for it.
Yeah, and as Krebsy's saying, I still think Diablo 4 is hiding something, and Diablo Immortal was just a test, and Quintar's pointing up. This is why I don't understand the time sync. The time sync, and Travis says that the most important question is it fun to play, and all that matters is it fun. And I say no, Travis. Fun is good, but respecting the player's time is the most important thing for me in games like this. If you have me running around doing, nonchalant things and rinse and repeat to get the minute little things, yeah, sure, I could have fun with a piece of turd, okay, but you're still playing with a piece of turd.
If you're running around for 27 hours for a 3% buff overall, then I don't care.
And I want them to respect the time, and I feel like what they're doing with the Paragon level and everything in the I don't feel like that respects the player's time. I feel like that kind of wastes your time, and there's a time sink there. And what's the time sink for?
My guess is the illusion of depth. It's more of a time game than it is an in-depth game, and I'm sure the special abilities will be cool. But if it's like every other Diablo game, right? It doesn't matter the powers and abilities that you actually have, because Diablo always, and I mean always, scaled with you. So even if you were a badass, right, the game's hard in the beginning, but that's not that hard. And as you get past the creatures, they go like this, and some of the mini bosses while you play are a little higher than you. And that's the way the game always is. It's this the whole time. That's the way Diablo always has been.
Right.
But if it's the same as it was before, but now you want me to play 10 times longer to do the same shit, and you are inventing battle passes on purpose, so I have to make a new character. Right. And so the grind plus characters equals time. If it takes me 50 hours to level up a main, then that means if I do a battle pass, that means I have to grind out a new character and get him as high as possible in order to finish the battle pass.
Real quick, General says you could have fun with a piece of turd. Mind elaborating on it, 30? Sure. So I live on a farm, and we have cows, and they make really big shit piles. Okay. Well, they bake in the sun, and then they become like these, what's it called? They become like these hard, crystallized things on the ground, and they're like hockey pucks, okay? Now, I could pick up that piece of turd, and I can chuck it, and man, it's a lot of fun, right? And then it explodes or whatever it is because it's all dried up, okay?
But you're still playing with shit.
Right, okay? So
listen, I'm not saying the game's going to be bad.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, from what I've read and what I've watched, the amount of time needed to play that game, I don't have.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about me. I'm sure it's a great game.
I had a blast.
For me to get the satisfaction out of it, to play the game, the amount of time that I have to do what I got to do, not for me anymore.
I had a blast playing through the betas. Okay, both weekends. Okay, now leveling up the characters, one character. Okay, to do this, like you said, well, Lono said, 41 characters each season. You're gonna have a new character, and they say you level up faster during the seasons and whatnot. I just can't imagine playing through, getting to the Paragon level, and then going up 300, 400 levels with that one character, and then doing it again next season, and then doing it again next season, and then doing it again next season.
4 times a year.
Right.
4 times a year.
That to me is that's where it becomes like this grind, and they're gonna, in my opinion, they're gonna add something in there, because didn't they say? And again, they didn't say it this past broadcast. If they did, is when I dozed off, but the Battle Pass, in a conversation in a Twitter, they said it was going to take 80 hours. Is that still true, or did they reference that, right? Because 80 hours for a Battle Pass, that's insane, right? That's insane. It's only 100 levels. Okay,
if you're 20 something and you don't have a full-time job, this is a great game for you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If I have hours to kill, I love Diablo. Do you know how many hours I played Diablo 1, 2, and 3? Well, not as much as 3, but 1 and 2. Like, I love those games. Yeah. I love those games. But I just don't have the time or the amount of hours needed to by listening to what this game has. Don't have it.
Yeah. I think I'll enjoy one character.
If you're a Diablo fan, if your last game was Diablo 3 and you love Diablo 3 and this is Diablo 4 for you and you got time, this is your game.
100%.
This is your time sink right here.
This is 100% different than Diablo 3. It's like night and day. Yeah, that's basically it, Travis. I'm gonna play through the main story, and then the DLCs that come out for it. But I don't know if I'll be leveling up a character every single season. Creature says I don't have the time to play in that way. I would like to play it, so I will not play it. So I will not play it at all. I gotcha. Yeah, it's just I think the time sink's too much. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the last thing we're going to talk about, then we'll go to question, okay, is the Division, okay? So Division had a stream today as well, and we're going to watch this small little video. It's 17 minutes long, but we're just going to pick on little things. We're not going to talk about the mobile game. We're just going to talk about Season 5 that's coming out real fast. So let's bring that up and about that.
Hello, agents, and welcome
Let me know
to
if you guys
Division
can hear that
Day,
okay.
the day where we check in on all things
You're on
the
the same
Division.
audio, sorry,
I'm your
so-
host, Chris Waters, from the Ubisoft News team, and today we're covering 3 games.
Let's fast forward.
And the Division up for you. So it'll start with Season 1, Broken Wings, which is bringing a new twist on manhunts and introducing a new game mode called Descent. Now, I think a new game mode calls for a new game mode trailer, and what do you know? I've got one right here. Let the sickness take them!
The Division trained you to operate at your limits. This simulation will push you beyond them. But I'm confident in your abilities.
Simulation restart.
Suit up, agents. It's time to see what you're capable of.
So real quick, there's that, the simulation, right? You have Descent. It's a free roguelike mode. Now, this kind of reminds me of in Division 1 where they had the underground, the subway, where it was like random procedurally generated like areas, and you would go in and it was a good mode. Obviously, it's not the exact same type of mode, but it does change, right? So it looks pretty decent as far as the game mode goes. You think you would jump into this, Sarge, or do you think this is just something that you wouldn't even partake in?
I mean, I'm trying to understand what that is. I'm playing a game inside of a game.
Yeah, it's just a different game mode inside. It's like if you went to the DZ, in this you're going against the AI, right? But what it is it's just a game mode, a simulation. So you would go in. Did you ever play the sewers, the subway stuff in Division 1? I don't think you did.
No. Do you know it's okay for a game to end, right? You know it's okay for a game to
sure, but that's not
play
their
out and then just for it to stop. You finish the game, right?
But that's not their MO. They're
No,
keeping
I know
this-
what their MO is. Their MO is to drag the dead cat around the block until someone finally takes it off the leash. Like I played Division 2 all the way through. I've done all the manhunts. I liked all the things. I'm interested in the DLC, but that's season 4. When you have to wait for that DLC to actually come out finally, right? I mean, it's a good game. It was a good game, but you're basically currently right now introducing another game mode in there. The only game mode that they need to add to that game currently right now is survival mode.
Well,
right. That's all they need to add is survival mode. But they keep adding this other shit to it. Like,
if you notice, though, I think they might be adding to it because they're bringing winter back inside of New York, right? In season 3, they're doing a holiday event and whatnot. And then inside Heartland itself, they've added the survival type of so Heartland's a free game.
But all they kept mentioning was dehydration.
Right, the dehydration.
They didn't mention food.
Yeah.
They didn't mention food. All they kept mentioning was dehydration. That's not really survival.
No, it's not. But they've added it to it. You know what I'm saying? So there is stuff that they're adding back into it. So the actual
Heartland looks good, but Heartland reminds me of like 2 or 3 other games.
Right. So they did add enough for the roadmap. So season 1, we have the descent mode, we have the castle rebuild, right, and then we have the apparel event. Okay. Now you've been asking about the castle rebuild. You're like, I think it changed this week. I'm like, no, it didn't change. So here you have it. They're actually changing it, but it's going to take actual 2 seasons to change the castle rebuild once it's all done. In season 3 this year in year 5, season 3, they have Back to New York, holiday event, and apparel event. And then in season 4, they have story DLC, season 2.0, and then an apparel event. So this time next year is when you get the season 4 of the story DLC. So I do like that they're bringing the story campaign and stuff back into this, but it's like, I like it, but I don't like it. I like the fact that I can come back.
It's okay for a game to end, bro.
But I'm okay coming back every like 6 weeks and like doing the manhunts and then putting it down. I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I just feel like they have to add a little bit more. The incursion, that they're coming in, the puppeteers. So it all starts in June 1st for the DLC. I'm excited for it. I think it's more. I still enjoy playing Division 2. Like we only play it like once every like 3 weeks or so, but I still enjoy playing it.
Because you're gonna need a reason to play it.
Right.
You need another manhunt thing to do something. But once again, there's nothing wrong with Division 2. They did a good job. They fixed it when they needed to fix it. It had its run. But compared to what else is coming out, am I going to start going into battle passes and seasons for Division 2 all over again? I'll probably wait for Heartland. Heartland comes out, I'll play Heartland. But like, I need reasons to if I'm looking for reasons to reload Division 2, then it's pretty much saying you're still dragging the cat around. Like you're just looking for a reason to play it. It's still fun. Right, I like going on the manhunts. I like existing in that world, but you're not really giving me anything to do. You're just recycling by changing names and doing some voiceovers to make me interested. Yeah. It's not actual content. It's busy work, right? A real DLC is like the New York add-on. That's like a real DLC,
right?
If you want to continue the story, like make another DLC. Like I want to see what the actual DLC is at the end. Like season 4, that's an actual DLC. I want to see what that is.
Yeah, you're a year away, and that DLC is probably not going to be very big.
Well, right? This is my point. Yeah. This is why I say it's okay for a game to end.
Would you be okay if it was paid DLC? I don't know if they said it was paid or free, but
I mean, if it's an actual good DLC, I'm always happy to pay for DLC because that's what it is. I'm paying for content. But if it's a free DLC, I already know right away. Then it's just some more busy work for me to do.
All right, the next thing I want to watch is the Heartland video. To answer your question, Paul, no, they didn't tell us when. This summer is when they're doing like some testing on it and whatnot. So let's watch this video a little bit.
Hey everyone, we're so excited to show you Heartland, an all-new standalone adventure in the Division universe.
Is this the day before?
Oh, the teams poured their heart into this game, and we can't wait to share it with you. welcome to Silver Creek.
I do like the story continues. Like, this is the
Heartland's a free-to-play survival action
of what
shooter
happened with
set
the-
in the Division
the story from
universe
New York.
that features streamlined survival gameplay and a beautiful new world to explore, filled with dynamic PvEVP gameplay. In Heartland, you play as a Division agent, given the task of protecting Silver Creek, a small town in Middle America. It's your job to keep the town safe from enemy factions, rogue agents, and a deadly contamination. Heartland explores what happened to small-town America when the green poison was unleashed on the world. While major metropolitan centers got aid from agencies like SARA and the Division, what help did the Heartland get? This game ties directly into the timeline and introduces all new characters and storylines to the franchise. I'm Keith Evans, Creative Director in Heartland at Red Storm Entertainment.
Hi, I'm Taylor Epperly. I'm the Associate Game Director on Heartland. I'm really excited for folks to see what the world of the Division looks like in small-town America.
Hi, I'm Carrie Bland, Community Developer on Heartland, and I can't wait for our players to see all the hard work
Why are you
and
protecting our small
dedication the
town?
team has
You're gonna have to play the game and find out, Water.
put in. We've spent a year in closed tests building on the experience, responding to the feedback we received, and have evolved towards a truly unique and exciting take on survival PvEVP gameplay.
Heartland launches with a robust experience for players on day one. The player's first task is to help Mackenzie Reed get Silver Creek's base of operations back up and running. Players will be tasked with completing a set of missions and projects, all focused on the goals of exploring the town and gathering the supplies necessary to help prepare the base of operations. Every mission completed gives players the tools and strength necessary to survive.
Silver Creek is a hostile environment filled with deadly contamination, roaming enemy hordes, and the looming threat of sickness and dehydration. Players will have to be prepared if they hope to survive a full day in town.
As day turns to night, Silver Creek is sent into high alert. The survival threat increases, and dangerous PvEVP from rogue players and AI is introduced.
So basically,
Night
it's
is a
all the
deadly
dark zone.
sandbox filled with unexpected threats, but there is that constant carrot of great rewards.
As players progress, they unlock the ability to select one of 3 active classes. Every class brings something unique to the table, from the survivalist ability to highlight loot behind walls, to the weapons expert ability to craft and deploy an assault turret. Combining these classes in a squad helps you overcome Silver Creek's toughest challenges.
Where one teammate might be falling behind, you really want to make sure that you're picking up that weight. Talking together and working as a true unit is the best way to make sure you're successful in Silver Creek.
Heartland features a deadly and unpredictable contamination that makes every trip into Silver Creek unique.
To help you in your journey, you'll be able to fabricate supplies, prepare your go bag for each new day, making sure you can achieve even the toughest goals.
The contamination shapes the areas of the map that are easily accessible, and using a filter protects agents from the contamination, but the filter depletes pretty quickly inside the contaminated areas. So depending on how many filters you have on hand, you might decide to head into a contaminated area and get some loot that other
That's the
folks
survival
passed
thing
up.
with the
There's also the
filters.
ever-present threat of dehydration. Dehydration can slow you down, so you really have to keep an eye out for fresh, non-contaminated water when you're out in Silver Creek.
Try to be as prepared as possible. You're gonna want to set yourself up for success out there. But if you do find yourself a little underprepared, hopefully you have a teammate that'll let you crawl inside their backpack. Who knows, maybe they have juice boxes in there.
Hey, juice boxes.
In Silver Creek, shade agents are using the rocket rink and abandoned roller skating rink as their base of operations. For the first time in the Division, the entire base of operations is a shared space. You can socialize, form a group, customize your character, and prep for your next operation. Each session begins and ends in the base of operations, and you'll be talking to Carmelita, Kevin, and Mackenzie quite often.
Each time players exfiltrate back to their base of operations, they take the materials and gear they've collected and store it in their personal armory to help them prepare for future days in the town.
When you're going up against rogue agents, you kind of get into a bit of a cat or mouse situation. For me, I'm definitely more of a mouse. You don't have to worry about rogue agents if they can't see you.
There's a couple different strategies you can use against rogue players. I love using Heartland's class skills to set up ambushes, coordinating with my teammates to make sure we're repairing our armor as needed. And then when the shooting's done, I love looking through their loot and taking all the good stuff.
Heartland will be a living game. The stories we tell on day one are just the beginning. We can't wait for players to dive in and take this journey with us.
We're thrilled to take the next step as we enter our testing phase. Our community team will be looking at feedback shared across social channels and on our official forums, while we evolve our game together with our community, shaping the long-term Heartland experience. The team is committed to creating the best possible experience for our players, and the community is invaluable in helping make that happen.
I really think we've created something that the original survival players will recognize, while also innovating with open world operations, dynamic contamination.
The team here at Red Storm is proud and feel we're really onto something. Heartland feels fresh and distinct while still feeling at home alongside the other amazing games in this universe. Thank you for taking this journey with us. We can't wait to have you join us in Silver Creek.
Okay, we'll leave that to there. All right, so here's what I wish they did with Heartland. Why don't you just add it? Why don't you just add it to Division 2 and keep Division 2 going and make that the DLC? Like, you have New York, you have the Heartland, you know what I mean? Like, you have Washington, you have the Heartland, you have New York. I don't understand why you have to make it a separate game. And you can't say, well, it's for the money, because it's a free-to-play game. It's a free-to-play game, okay? So they're doing the exact same microtransactions as they do with Division as of right now, right? So they're not charging you for that game. That could literally be the DLC that could be into Division 2, because it has crossplay and Division 2 does not. Okay, so make the other one crossplay. I mean, I understand they have to rework the code. They'd rather make a separate game completely. I don't know. It looks interesting, but it's the Dark Zone. But the whole map is Dark Zone now, right? Because it's always PvPV. Okay?
Yep.
And it reminds me of the survival, which I really, really loved in Division 1. The survival mode in Division 1 was fantastic because you got to do the PvE part, build up your arsenal, build up your warmth, build up all the stuff, and then go into the Dark Zone to extract and whatnot. And that's how you won that part. And I thought it was a fantastic. I used to love going in with Brain, and we would go in and fight. This just feels, it feels like a half-baked idea. They're like, hey, let's just make it, sure, let's make it crossplay. I'll tell you what, Creature, I don't want to be anywhere near anyone that's playing on PC if I'm on Xbox or PlayStation. I do not want to play crossplay with people on PC because I've seen Tarkov. I've seen everything else. There's going to be cheaters galore inside this, and it wouldn't be fun. What do you think, Sarge?
I mean, I'll try it, but once again, I was happy to play the game. I'm happy to play the DLC, but when it's over, it's over. Like, don't forget that Ubisoft has this grand plan to redo all the stuff. They're going in a different direction. Remember, right? They're going in a different direction. I don't see a different direction. I just see games as service. That's all I see.
Zero says, "Gotta wiggle. If you don't wiggle, you don't wiggle back, you get destroyed."
I remember. I know that trick, Zero. Yeah, the wiggle.
You gotta do the wiggle. Right? I don't know. I look. I applaud them for putting so much effort. There's comic books and novels and podcasts and TV shows and video game. They're doing a lot with the Division.
Did you see everything else they're talking about, like comics and T-shirts? Like it's a whole selling stuff about Division. Yeah. Like, is that your way of making money? Swag? You want people to buy swag of Division 2? Like, the world's already fucked up as it is. You want us to dress like the guys in the video game out in the real world? People are going to start asking questions. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad enough we're on the borderline of this kind of stuff being reality, and like, you want us to buy swag that makes it look real. Like, I don't get it, man. How about you just make a kick-ass game? How about that? Right? How about you just put survival mode in the actual game, like the actual survival mode that was in the game originally that everyone loved. Everyone loved the survival mode.
Here we were just talking about this, right? Where they're taking game modes out of other games and then selling them to you separately, right? Squadrons did this. That's what they're doing. The Dark Zone in the game right now is terrible. So they decided to make a standalone game of the Dark Zone, okay, and put it separate. Make it just completely separate. I don't know. It's just weird to me, man. It's just weird. All right, it's that time of the show where we're going over questions. Okay, so if you have questions, you should have submitted them already. If you didn't submit them already, well, then you're not going to have any questions. So submit your questions. If you have any questions, of anything you want to ask us from the topics that we had today, or just general questions, if you bring in a stupid question, I'm not gonna read the question, but we are taking questions. So let me see here from. We have what is happening here? For chat, I lost my. All right, question 1 comes from Krebsy. Why don't we see more people questioning how unprepared Xbox was for this generation? Do you think if Redfall, the bigger brother, Starfield, or Starfield fail, more people will start walking away from Xbox? What do you think, Sarge?
This is an easy one. If Starfield comes out at 30 frames, a lot of people who have the X will sell it and go buy a PlayStation.
There's plenty of PlayStations to buy.
Because you don't need an X. You just need the S if you want to play Xbox. If you're playing the same kind of games you're playing anyway, you don't give a shit then. But if Starfield comes out, and by the way, it's coming out 30. It's not coming out 60.
Well, I agree with that.
A lot of people who have an X won't give a shit anymore. They'll go play something else.
Yeah, well,
you're not going to give them the next gen game.
Right. Well, I think the people that would walk away, they're not looking for Starfield then, right? Because either that or they just go to their PC. They would sell their Xbox, buy a PlayStation, and then just play the game on the PC.
Yeah, we already listen. There's not even a question in my mind right now. Not one question that Starfield is releasing 30 frames.
I mean, Todd said they want to make 30 frames. They don't care about the quality, like the high frame stuff. They want to make good quality. That's what he said. Quality wise, that's what he said. Right. So it definitely it's coming out 30 frames. Okay. Second question comes from Travis. He says, "Is the problem with the games as a service that companies don't understand what fans want? Like Monster Hunter works because it adds new free monsters every 3 months, not skins." Is that a question though? That's not really a question. There was no. I guess your question was, is the problem with games as a service companies don't understand what fans want? I don't think it's the problem with games as services that they don't know what they want. I think the problem with games as services is that they particularly make the rotation of the game, the gameplay, longevity longer and more grindy for the fact that they're trying to sell you something, not because of what it is. And that's what I'm talking about. Respect your player's time about being in the game. What do you think, Sarge?
Yeah, they're trying. No, they're trying. You're correct. They are trying to maximize profit in a game. A games as service means you have new reasons to let them come back to the same game and give a little bit more money each time you come back. So if I paid 60 for the game and a battle pass costs me 10, and I can give you 5 or 6 battle passes, I can stretch out the game, still collect revenue from the game while I'm making a new game in the background, right?
Right.
Well, because it takes a longer time to make games. That's just how it is. This is why we're reaching a tipping point. I'm telling you, depending on what the laws start to do about the AI, cloud gaming, and the speed of which they can program computers and program code to make games. This is the issue. So if they get AI to help us, games will come out quicker, prices will probably stabilize a little bit better, labor will go down, and we'll have more games and probably even more studios, because instead of having 400 people to work on a game, you only need 200 people to work on a game with AI help, and now you could take 400 people and make 2 different studios and they can work 2 different games. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So, listen, games as service, the only reason why it exists is because it allows for a game to make more revenue over time, as opposed to the initial dropping of the money and then walking away.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right. Because if the game comes out and they have to take 5 years to make a game, like I said,
if I can stall you, stall you for 2 years,
right, I get the game.
Then
not only do I get the money up front 3 years early, but then I can drag you out for 3 more years and get that extra 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever.
So you figure 2 or 3 battle passes is another half a game or 2/3 of a game. Yeah. So there you go. All
right, next question from Jesse Mack says, if the next year is the 20th year anniversary of Star Wars Battlefront 2004, next September 21st, hear me out. What if on the day Respawn releases their first-person shooter Star Wars game, various Battlefront 3? Yes or no? I mean, we kind of answered that during the thing.
I say that's 100% plausible.
Yeah,
100% plausible.
If they're making it or someone else is making it, maybe EA. I mean, EA owns, I think, the rights to Battlefront.
Not anymore.
No, they own the rights to Battlefront. They don't own the license. Like they don't have a license exclusive, but they still own the rights to Battlefront because they created it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if. Well, I guess they didn't originally create it, did they?
No,
No.
they lost the ability to only the only one making a Star Wars game.
Well, this is the last year. This is why Jedi Survivor's coming out. After this, it opens up. Anyone else can come out with Star Wars games now. This is the last year of the contract. General Vague says, should console scalping be illegal or something? I mean,
listen, if we're gonna argue about scalping PlayStations, and I disagree, it's a shitty system. However, I would much rather jail the people who scalp tickets for Ticketmaster.
Right.
If we're gonna talk about video games, and we got to talk about the big one, the elephant in the room. Like, concert tickets are out of hand, and you have to be dropping $1,000 on concert tickets when you know the concert ticket only costs $200 or $300.
Well,
so
the problem is there was a graphic card company that was caught, made a subsidiary company, and they would buy up their own graphic cards and then sell them at a higher price from a third party, right? So it's not even the scalpers.
That's illegal.
Yeah, of course it's illegal. Okay,
that is.
So if I have the money to buy 2 PlayStations and I want to sell one, I don't think that's a problem. But if you're a person that has the money to buy 1,000 PlayStations and you sell them, and you basically, I mean, it is what it is. Capitalism is what it is.
That's capitalism. Yeah.
But I don't think it should be illegal. But I do believe that stores, right, would say like you can only purchase like 2 or 3, not 1,000.
Right.
Type of thing. And now, sure, you could go to other store and then buy 3, and then go to another store and buy 3.
But at least make it inconvenient.
Right, make it a little harder to jump through the jump through.
But the same thing can be said for concert tickets. Like if I'm buying 1,000 concert tickets, like you only have 2. If you and somebody else is going on the ticket, you 2 tickets.
Right.
Like you don't get to buy 1,000 tickets and then resell them immediately. Like you could never get concert tickets when you want to get concert tickets.
Either that or it's linked to your card, right? So like your name or your card, where you swipe the card and says, "Oh, you already bought 3 tickets. You can't buy any more tickets with this card." So make it harder.
Yeah,
then they would have like 15 cards.
Smash, you're talking about the guy who's selling one out front. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Ticketmaster itself. Like, you have to understand the venue sells tickets for the actual event. Ticketmaster buys up all the tickets and then resells through them. Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
That's different than the guy out front selling tickets. Like, of course someone gets arrested because he's out in the open actively selling tickets. That's fine. I'm talking about in a whole company's lifeblood is buying up the fucking arena and reselling en masse. It's been going on for years.
Yeah, we're not talking about
years.
We're not talking about PlayStations are hard to get now. You know, you can go to the store like right now. Costco has a fucking pallet of them. You can just go buy a PlayStation bundle. By the way, a bundle, and I think it was $50 off. I think you could buy it for $5.50, and you get God of War Ragnarok with it. They're doing that now because they're trying to get rid of the old supplies because the new ones are coming out next year. So that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Right. All of a sudden, they're everywhere.
Next question is Krebsy Gaming says, when you're first watching Unrecorded, did you feel it was real? At what? Oh, we didn't get to watch that, but Sarge will give you his opinion on it. Does the game become real in such? Would people feel okay killing people? How real it feels? So, if those of you that don't know, I have a video. So that those of you that don't know, let me play this. I'm gonna put no sound on it and just play it in the background. Sarge, can
you need to play it. Let everyone see it.
Yeah,
let's let everyone see it, and then we'll discuss.
So this is Unrecorded. This is what Krebsy was talking about. This is a game coming out that is supposed to be like you're a cop. It's from your vest cam or shoulder cam or chest cam, whatever, and you're going through and you have different missions and stuff you're going on. You're trying to detain bad guys or whatnot. Now, the problem with this, or not really a problem, but what Krebsy's asking is, this looks super realistic. Now, I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago when the Call of Duty came out and IGN was crying because it was so realistic. They were offended. I don't know if you remember that, Sarge. Remember when they were all crying because it was so realistic? Mm-hmm. I look at it this way. I've talked about realism. Like Star Wars for me is like photorealism. And I like it, but it's also fantasy. This is reality. right? And looks real. Now, this is not. Sarge thought this was a GoPro. A lot of people thought this was a GoPro. This is literally.
This is not rendered. I'm sorry.
It is rendered, Sarge. Like,
it is not rendered.
It is 100%. You can look at the textures on the actual things. They're not fully completed yet. They're very smooth. Look at the blocks. There's different assets in the thing that are gigantic that are not supposed to be that way because it's a video game. Sarge, I don't know if you've watched anything of the Mando show or anything that came from Hollywood recently, but that's all made with Unreal Engine 5, and the background, it's all looks real. So that's the thing. This is a game that's being created by one guy, Unreal Engine. Like, look at the containers. Those are mint condition containers. There's no. This
is not rendered.
This is. Yeah.
This is not rendered. This is somebody with a GoPro.
This is not a GoPro.
Well, whatever new camera they have out there, this is not camera. Rendered.
This is in game. This is
not a. You're dreaming.
I am not.
You're dreaming.
You can literally see the textures. Look at the textures.
Okay.
Open the video on your own screen and look at the textures. Look at them. You can literally see stuff in the thing it's a video game. Look at the newspaper. You're telling me the newspaper is literally floating on the desk right there. Okay, you're telling me this is real. It's a gigantic newspaper, and it's floating above the desk, and you're telling me that this is real from a GoPro camera. Like, you're delusional. Like, look at it. Look at it. The couch is in mint condition. There's, like, no texture smoothness. It's just, everything's just smooth to it. Okay? You can see, like, all the different dings and stuff that are all just rehashed on there. Come on, bro. Get better. Look at it. It's a game. It's not real. It's not GoPro. So, to answer the question, he says, if it becomes so real, do people feel okay playing a game like that and shooting people?
People are shooting people in real life right now, bro. This game is not going to do nothing for nobody. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're fine with it. They're fine with it.
Did I look at Discord? What do you guys have in Discord? Did you put something in Discord? Another year, another lineup.
If that's real, if that's rendered, then there's no reason for me to play video games until they come out with games like that. I'll just wait.
But see, I don't want to play games like that. Personally, I don't want to play realistic games. So my answer to Krebsy is I don't want to play games like that because there's a difference. The reason I like playing World War II games is because it's the past and I know it's fake. Like, if I played a real modern day war game and it did look real, it would feel kind of weird, right? It almost feel like the movie Gamer, where I'm a person controlling a prisoner and he's actually killing people type of thing, right? It's that thing. I think if you're playing that in video, in like virtual reality, that's going to be hard for your brain to differentiate between reality and fake, right? And so much so where right now you shoot guns and you kill people in Call of Duty, but you can tell the difference because it's not real. But if you're playing that in VR and you're just killing people that look real, then you kind of get desensitized to that type of stuff. I don't know. It's a weird situation that we're in. Next question. Krebsy says, "It's just me, or does it seem that Ubisoft to put more resources on X Defiant than Heartland, both in Tom Clancy universe? Why spread the player base so thin over 3 games?" X Defiant's weird because they dropped the Tom Clancy off of that, right? It's a completely separate now. They didn't put Tom Clancy. They try to separate it itself from it. What do you think, Sarge? They're between Heartland, X Defiant, and then all the other games that they're coming out with Ubisoft. Why are they spreading their people too thin?
Because
not the developers, the player base.
Because they don't know what's going to work for them. Ubi is still trying to figure out where they make the most money. They're trying to spread out these different types of genre games. They want to see which one does well. But to me, they're all the same. Right. Just a different version of the game is all the same. Weird.
I watched a lot of the X Defiant stuff, Creature, and you know what everyone says, and this is what I think will kind of backfire into it, is that everyone's like, "Oh, it's a Call of Duty. It's a Call of Duty. Call of Duty." Like, everyone's comparing it to Call of Duty. It's not being, "Hey, X Defiant, have you seen X Defiant? Oh, it looks really good." They're like, "X Defiant, it's the next Call of Duty. It looks like Call of Duty." And I think that's the downfall of X Defiant. And I don't think Ubisoft will as soon as it goes south, if they lose the player base in any way, shape, or form, they'll just toss it to the side, just like they do with all their other games.
Yeah, there's no brand loyalty anymore. The only one they keep crying about right now is Call of Duty, and I got news for you. I don't give a shit about Call of Duty.
Creature, I'll tell you what, if that's the case, if they're auditioning for Sony, great, right? We've been saying it for all the time. Stop crying and make another Call of Duty. So there you go. Everyone's already saying that X Defiant's like Call of Duty. So there you go. You've made it. Now just buy them. Just buy, do it. Microsoft, buy them up, and then start making X Defiant just exclusive on Sony PlayStation. There you go. Paul Gaming says, "What's your new PC like, Sarge?"
Well, let's see. I'll give you the stats of AMD Ryzen 7 7700, 5.4 gig turbo. It's just I went with the basic card to start with until I figured out what's going on. So I got a GeForce RTX 3060, the 1 terabyte SSD drive. Nothing else. I didn't get any of the pretty colors. I didn't get any of that RGB color shit inside there. It's water cooled. It's got expansion ports. It's got a lot of extra expansion spots for me to add what I want to add.
Should have played some porn music while you explain this.
It's good. It's good.
All right, next question comes from Travis. He says, "Sarge,
I had to go AMD, Paul. I you know what it is? I've had so many bad experiences with Intel, and I don't care about them anymore, honestly. So I went AMD."
Travis says, "Sarge, if you could give any superhero a game, who would you pick and how would you play it?"
I'm sorry, say it again.
If you could give any superhero a game, who would you pick and how would it play?
I think one to go with creativity. I think that because of the art involved and the things that you could add on with, like, and I'm going against my own train of thought, but like DLC stuff, like make people buy stuff, right? I think a Green Lantern game, right? Because Green Lantern's power is he can think of anything and put it into the ring, right? So maybe they give you like 20 or 30 abilities with the ring that you have to unlock, and then you keep buying different ones because how cool they are, like what he does with the ring. And then you could go against the characters that Green Lantern goes against, and then probably culminate it with like a huge boss battle.
I would make.
I think Green Lantern video game superhero would be the most artistic one because you can do anything you want with the ring. That's the whole point.
I would like to make a X-Men game where you start off as Professor Xavier, and you have to go around the open world map, and you have to put pieces together. Like you use your telepathic to find the other mutants that are in trouble or doing stuff, and then you find them, and then you have to bring them back to your manor, to the X-Men mansion, right? The school, and then once you find that person, you can be that person, and then you start going on adventures and stuff like that. So you're piecing together the X-Men.
Yeah, I still think with the conversation we had a while back about the actual Justice League, like to build the actual Justice League and have the last guy you find be Superman, and then finally come out with a Superman game.
Oh,
but
yeah.
a Superman game is really hard though. Like you'd have to make games about the other superheroes first to get good enough to make a game about Superman.
Right.
Because Superman is very hard to make a game for.
All right, the last question of the night is from Quintar. It says, how about the Snowdrop Star Wars project Lucasfilm is working with Ubisoft? What about it?
Let's say it again.
How about that Snowdrop Star Wars project Lucasfilm is working on with? Like, what do you want us to? What's the question? Like, what about it? Like,
does it exist? Does it exist?
It does exist.
Is it going to come out?
We have someone that I know that's playing it.
Is it going to come out before I die?
I don't know that question, Sarge.
Right, yeah. Listen, I'm always up for a new Star Wars game, but God have mercy, someone's got to go first. Someone's got to go first.
You're talking about.
You know exactly who I'm talking about. Someone's got to go.
Talking about Kathleen Kennedy.
She's got to go.
I'm really looking forward to that game in what I have envisioned in my head, Quintar. I mean, I like that Massive is doing it. I'm picturing, though, like in my head right now, they're making a Bad Batch game, right? They're just taking Division with the 4-player, and they're just turning that
Star Wars characters
into
out.
like Coruscant instead of New York and Washington, and they're turning it into Coruscant, and you're playing clone troopers in this co-op game that you're going around being the Bad Batch, and they have their special abilities, right? Like, I think that's what they're making. I don't know. That's what I'm envisioning in my head. Vikings snuck in last one. No more questions. Vikings got one. He says, "You're all superhero fans. What about the Archangel game? Yeah, he was like a anti-hero / hero. I mean, look,
It's very niche.
I
It
love
would be a
superhero
niche
games.
game.
If you could bring out one, look, I'll play a single player one. I'll play a multiplayer one. I'll play any kind of superhero game. I love seeing superheroes come off the pages and into video games, right, and into movies, right. I tell this story all the time. When Marvel's Avengers first came out in theaters and they had the Incredible Hulk there, even though there was the other Hulk movies before that, when he says, "I'm always angry," and then he punches something, he starts smashing things, I had a tear come down my eye because that's the Hulk that I wanted to see my entire life on the screen, right? I didn't really like Ang Lee's Hulk and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I look back at that and go, after Marvel's Avengers, they made Hulk a bitch. Okay, he's a beta bitch the entire time, so they completely ruined Hulk because they didn't own the rights to him. But I love seeing the characters come off the pages and into the thing. Daredevil, the show on Netflix, if they turn that and you're playing a really gritty game like that, I would love to play a game like that with Daredevil. So I'll take an Archangel game. I think that's the last one. What about Sarge? You already answered the Archangel one?
I said it's a very niche game. It sounds cool, but like you wouldn't be able to sell enough copies of it. There's so many hero games for that. There's so many heroes, right? I still want, and I said it before, and I thought Suicide Squad might be it, but it's not. Right? I want an actual game where you're the bad guys. Right?
Yeah.
I want to be the bad guy. I want an anti-hero game. Not that you're making the villains into heroes. I want a bad guy game. That you're the bad guy going after the good guy, and the idea is to get rid of him. Right? I want that kind of game. I want to be a villain.
Boss says that's why I went to DC Universe Online, a villain. Yeah, my guy's like a anti-hero in DC Universe. All right. That's going to do it for episode 348 of Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. If you guys like this, please make sure you share, like, subscribe. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, you can hit the membership button for $5. We do appreciate you very much for coming out. You can watch this past broadcast in the podcast section on 30NSG, and then you can also go to Spotify after this weekend, and it'll be up there, and you can watch it on Spotify and listen to it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm, anywhere else where you can listen to podcasts. They'll be up and on there for you. We appreciate you. This is a little longer episode because we've been gone for 5 weeks, so we appreciate you hanging out with us, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Game on, guys.
They're two brothers and gamers that have been playing games since the early 1980s. Combined, they have over 65 years experience. Join them each week as they discuss and rant about gaming and entertainment news. This is Generation X Gaming.